good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're from, and maybe even good morning for those on the other side of the world. I know there's been some people logging in from all around the world, and we welcome all those that can join, and hopefully you'll look forward to another edition of Atheism, Agnosticism under Scrutiny. Now, what we're trying to do here, and the main objective, is to really, as we say, scrutinize the atheist stroke agnostic view, and also offer what we feel is a better view by a mile. Good evening, Sai, Brother Sai. Good evening. And good evening and welcome, Brother Greg. Thank you for joining. And a big thank you, Greg, for helping out some technical issues, which is rather interesting because I'm the IT guy, but it's Greg who comes to the rescue. I think we have to change roles in a minute. He's going to become the IT guy, and I'll
no chance. Your IT will fail.
Yeah. But
I think Greg has changed jobs then.
Yes, I think so.
I can't do that.
Yeah, but when things go wrong, well, it is my PC. I have a work PC, which I was going to use tonight because I had some issues with my personal PC laptop. But now my work one is now failing me, and it's just cutting in and out. There's issues with pulling in the microphone, and it's not settings. It's just 1 minute's working, and it will stop working, then it will work. So it's basically faulty. But I've gone back to my personal PC. Lo and behold, at least this is working okay, and hopefully won't get any background noise like we had. There was a bit of humming from my laptop, but it seems to be okay now. So hopefully it will serve us well for the rest of the show. So again, welcome everyone. So again, and welcome those in the comment section, those that have joined. Welcome, as always, our faithful Cherokee Gypsy, who regularly joins us, and we are so privileged for that, and we really thank you for that. Welcome Eddie and Frank C and FG for joining as well, and we've got Alan Deer as well. Welcome everyone. If I missed your name, my apologies. I'm just scrolling through the comments here. I didn't really take on board much of what was said last week in the comments because there was so much I had to try and unpack. But I will actually give a bit more time on, and Greg as well, or whoever, even Sai, if you do see anything alarming worth looking into, that we will consider. Welcome, Max. See, you've actually joined the stream.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi everyone. How are you?
We're all good, thank you.
So, I'm an atheist, and the reason that I don't believe there's a God is
Okay.
that if there was a God, then there shouldn't be earthquakes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can back it up. So I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
If I created a car and the clutch plate was faulty, then I'll fix it. Maybe I made a mistake while making a car, but now that I know it's faulty, I'll fix it. Similarly, Earth was created by the God, and it's his faulty product that we are dying in. So why wouldn't he fix it? Yeah.
I'm taking it on that basis, Max. You haven't really read the Bible that closely.
I haven't read any religious book, not even my own family's religion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be one of the challenges with that point you've made, is when we look at trying to we do two things to explain the Christian view, or our belief as a religious view, is we use two sources. The main source, of course, is the Bible. That is a document that we believe that God himself was involved in, and it's got his imprint, if you like, in the words that have been recorded. in the Bible, there is some basic mention of creation.
Mhm.
And what also is mentioned in the creation is how God has handled the world as a result of the fall of man, the sin of man. And it talks
Mhm.
about there will be earthquakes and there will be all sorts of conditions within the world that we're going to face.
Mhm.
So that itself tells you that God had a reason why, or at least a reason that he was obviously, God will be aware of, to why he's creating these conditions. And obviously this is something to do, it's linked with this what we call fallen world. But what God doesn't do is he doesn't go into a great deal of detail, expanding or outpacking that into precise explanations to all what goes behind that. Except that it will exist. It's something that we're going to exist as part of our fallen world that we're going to deal with. Now, what that means is that on its own would not be, for me, I think for many people, a good enough case to say whether there is a God or not. So we would have to look at things that are a lot more substantial and a lot more powerful, and using better arguments to prove whether there is a God. And I think that's what we're doing on this stream, is to look at things that really are the most convincing, if you like. And one of the things we mentioned last week was we're not here to provide precise 100% absolute definite proof there is God. There is a God.
Mhm.
We are trying to put forward a case that God is the best explanation of the origin of life and everything around us. Whatever way, from whichever angle we look at, God is the best answer. So what that means is it's not like you can get an absolute clear answer. Because of this, how can you prove like absolutely there is a God? That's not how we go about it, because what we see in the Bible and what we see in many things in life, many examples in life, is it always involves a level of the unknown, a level of the known, and we have to, that gap of the unknown is filled by the trust we have based on what we do know. And this is what we call evidence by inference. So we look at what we can establish and we can put together and logically put the case. Let's look at the examples, if you like, or the options between the case for God versus the case for there isn't a God. And I would say that would be a much better approach than the one that you mentioned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, and actually, I'm really glad that you said that God is the best explanation. There's no evidence, but we conclude that there
You
should
didn't
be
say
a God.
that.
Didn't say that. You're right.
Sorry, Max, you didn't say that.
But didn't you say that you can't prove that there's God, but God is
No,
the best explanation?
no. I'll repeat what I said. So I was very, very careful with my words, and Greg very, very wisely picked up on that.
Okay, can you
Well,
repeat what
yeah, of
what
course.
you
What
meant?
I said is we have some evidence,
Mhm.
but not full evidence, not 100% evidence. We have a degree of evidence, but that evidence is still evidence that convinces us of God, but it's not absolute. It's not 100%. There are some areas where we have to put a level of trust. And what we do is, based on the evidence that we do know,
Mhm.
we can use the, if you like, the journey to explore the elements that we don't have 100% elements. Based on the elements that we do know and we can have evidence of, that we are sure of, that we could then fill in those gaps to infer that the best fit to explain it in its entirety is that there is a God, much more or more convincing than there is no God. So
Yeah.
there is
Okay. Now.
some evidence. There's not
Mhm.
like there's no evidence. There's definitely evidence We can, and
Yes.
we
Now, now I understand what you're saying. So you're saying there's some evidence.
yes,
So can I know like what is this evidence
sure.
that
Ray, sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Go for it, Greg.
Max, my name's Greg. Thank you for coming on tonight. I don't think I got an opportunity to meet you last week. I just want to let you know I'm going to keep quiet now and let you and Ray have space to discuss this. This is Ray's group tonight. I'm not an evidential apologist. I'm a presuppositional apologist. So when I speak about a God, I speak about the truth and what you know to be true, and how you can prove what you know to be true, and how what your epistemology is, how you know what you know, because what we know
Mhm.
definitely affects what we believe, and how much you know affects how much you believe. So I just want you to know that we are all brothers on this channel. We all agree with one another in our theology, but we might go away, we might go about it, defending it or polemicizing other people's worldview slightly differently. But I just wanted you to know that I'm a presuppositional apologist, not an evidential apologist. And if we get a chance, I'd love to speak to you about that, but we'll save that for later.
Greg, really nice meeting you. Thank you
You
for
too.
clarifying that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's start with one of those bases, if you like, which is one of the key areas that has been under investigation a great deal, and probably one of the main ones anyway, and that's how the beginning of the universe started. So one of the arguments here is what we call the cosmological argument, and I'm not sure you're aware of that or not, but I can quickly go through the basics of what the cosmological argument is. And what that is to say that whatever we know, or whatever begins to exist, must have a cause. And we know that the universe, even scientists would agree, had a beginning. And therefore it must have had a cause. And therefore, if the universe had a cause, it itself, that cause, must be something outside of the universe, that it itself could not have had a cause, because the very first cause could not have a cause itself, because then it won't be the beginning of a cause. The very beginning of a cause must, by logic, cannot have a cause itself. Otherwise, you're going to go into infinite regression. That has a cause, and whatever that cause is has a cause, and you would just go on to infinity. So the original, basically the logic is to say that as we see everything has a cause to start, that's something to occur. So the same logic to the universe must have had a cause. That uncaused cause is what we're calling God. The reason why we're calling it God, another way of looking at it, is we're saying that this something must be something of major significance, something that is all powerful, intellectual, all-knowing, and so forth. It has to be something rather significant, and certainly most importantly of all, which we'll come to the point number 2, is that area of intelligence. And why do we say intelligence? We need what we call the teleological argument, is the second argument, and that's when we look at the order, the design, the structure of the universe. Now, I'm sure you would agree, when you look at the universe, that it's more likely, and I'm not saying as making these phrases or these comments in the right way, as we're not saying in an absolute sense, but what we do is just give us a little bit of room, and it's the same for both arguments, that when you look at the universe, is it more likely, is the best explanation that there is intelligent design behind the universe rather than not? What would your thoughts?
So this universe is actually not an intelligent design, because male nipples don't have any purpose.
Sorry?
why would God male nipples don't have any purpose? Why would God create life on planet Earth to test us, and then create all the other planets and galaxies in the universe? So if it was an intelligent design, then God would just create planet Earth, sun, and that's it. Like, just
Right.
why?
Right. I can straight away spot the major flaw in your argument there.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The major flaw in the argument is you're deciding what you think is intelligent design based on what you personally view. But of course, you could ask a scientist, you ask an astrologist, you ask many, many intelligent people around the world. They would give a far, far different answer. And the interesting thing, no matter which way you spin this, whichever way you view this, most intellectuals in these fields of excellence, in fields of science, in fields of research, come to a very, very different view than what you have just said. They come to a very, very powerful and strong view that the universe is incredibly sophisticated, incredibly complex. We are continually learning and discovering more complexities than we can imagine. And I'm going to come across one in a minute, a little bit later on, which is another phenomenon that has been discovered. But what it does is it alludes to even something as simple as cell structures in things like even leaves, looking into the DNA, looking into what's behind cell structures, natural life, plant life, etc. There is an incredible level of sophistication, let alone looking at anything else. So when you really look at the world and what we do know, I mean, you're picking one of the probably the most insignificant example. Doesn't mean that there isn't intelligent design when you look at the most significant examples. If you start looking at the most significant answers, you then get a much better picture of the level of sophistication that is in this universe. And it's that sophistication is what we're looking at. Because we have to look at everything. We have to look at what's in the world that clearly is over and above man. Man was never obviously involved with the universe itself, and most of the things that surround the humankind, as smart and intelligent as we are things that we are discovering rather than things that we are inventing. These are things that the natural world was in place before man had a clue of what it was. It's now through science and through continued discovery that we're starting to see some amazing evidence about just incredibly how complex and sophisticated the world is. There is no question any scientist would disagree whatsoever, or anybody that's done any major research on the universe, the science of the planet, of this planet alone, and the biology, the chemistry, whatever it may be, is that it's incredibly, incredibly sophisticated and complex, over and above by a ridiculous amount more than the intelligence of mankind. We can see that wherever you want to place man in the realms of intelligence within life, which would be number one compared to any other animal or plant, yet we see within the animal kingdom, within the plant kingdom, within the earth structure, within the universe, an incredible level of detail and sophistication that is million times the nth to the power or whatever over and above the intelligence of mankind.
Okay.
So we really see some fantastic evidence of intelligence in this universe.
Okay, so I agree that the universe is complex and it looks like some intelligent person has created it. Okay, so I'm gonna
Some
keep
intelligent person.
some intelligent God might have created, could have
Huh?
created it, but I want to keep this. I want to park this topic for later because intelligence and dumbness is a subjective term. But there was one thing that you told me which actually bothers me. Okay, so you told me that the universe has been created by a creator, and that is eternal, because if that creator has a creator, then we go in an infinite regression, right? This is
Right.
what you said, right?
Yeah.
So why can't you assume that the universe itself was eternal and no one created it? Because with your assumption that someone would have created it, you give introduce the concept of hell, heaven, and everything else. But if you assume that the universe was eternal and it was always there, no one created it, then all this hell, heaven, sin, every fairy tale goes away.
Well, here's the interesting part. So what you have to do here is you're going to have to be a little bit careful in your shall we say steps that you're taking, because looking at hell, heaven is a very different concept, a very different matter, which can be looked at, of course. We're happy to do that, but we have to take one step at a time to establish a particular argument so that we can get to a conclusion of that particular argument. And as I say, there are 4 arguments. Greg, did you want to say something? I can't hear you.
You're muted. You're muted.
Muted, Greg.
Greg, you're muted.
Sorry, Ray. We've been
right.
joined by Evie John White.
Right.
Welcome, John. I just wanted to say to Max and to John, the way that we work is we normally give about half an hour to each speaker to make their point, present their evidence, and examine it. John, do you mind just introducing yourself and telling us about where you are, and are you an atheist?
Well, I am John, and I just live in Ladbroke Grove, and I've been going to Speaker's Corner since 1990, and still go. My main church of fellowship is Kensington Temple, which is not far away from where I live. So Dr. Banda told me about this program. I said, yeah, why not? Let me just come and join and hear all what it's about. Yeah.
I've just realized who you are. You're my brother, John.
Sorry?
I know you from Speaker's Corner.
All right, okay. You know, you might look so different from, No,
you should have recognized me, brother. I am your actual brother from Speaker's Corner. And I'm very...
Amen.
Sorry,
praise God.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't recognize you either. That's why I asked you to introduce yourself. But as soon as you started speaking, I recognized your voice. But what I'm going to do is just say to Ray, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, Ray. And you and Max continue with this fascinating discussion.
Okay, no worries. Anyway, welcome, John.
Thank you.
So we are looking at one of the 4 main arguments to prove there is God, and it's called the cosmological argument. We are also looking slightly into the teleological argument, but we're going back for Max's purpose, benefit, back onto the cosmological until we get an established point here that he just raised. And that is, why can't the universe itself be the very beginning, which is itself, in other words, was always here? So there's 2 major issues with that, which is why I say it's not the best explanation. Not saying that we're saying that it's definitely not an explanation. We're happy to accept it as an explanation, but it's not the best. And these are 2 reasons why. Number 1, scientists that have been investigating and looking at the Earth, the universe, because of the nature of the universe, come to the conclusion that it had a beginning. Looking at the evidence through the methods that it uses, it's come to the best possible explanation that it had a beginning. Now, it may be so many millions of years old, whichever way they want to calculate, depending on the method of calculation, but the calculation has always drawn to the conclusion it had a beginning. So that's really the issue. So if you say it never had a beginning, you're going against the best possible explanation based on the evidence. So that's the first major issue. Not saying it's not possible, but you're going. And my biggest argument I always like to put against the atheists is that when you have 2 choices between 2 arguments, and one comes over as a better argument, if you're going to believe in an atheist argument, which is then trumped by a better argument, why do you not move to the better argument? And this is really what we're trying to put, that we don't stay neutral just because we have a particular position. If a better argument comes along to trump the argument that you hold, you should be honest and open to agree that I should change my view based on the better argument. So with the cosmological argument, the two factors is the one I just mentioned about that all the evidence and all the most sophisticated minds and those with the greatest level of research that's been compiled on universe all come to the agreement to a very high percentage that it had a beginning. So that's the first issue based on the actual physical evidence of that. And I'm no expert on this field, so I can't give you precise scientific data, but that's the first thing. So you're more than welcome to do some research, look at a lot of the papers on this in terms of why they come to the conclusion that the universe has a age. It wasn't always there. So that's the first thing. Number two is the fact that the universe itself does not have what we would see is not conceptual in the sense that it has what we would call a kind of form of mind, a way to make decisions about how to go about creating and so forth and designing. What we see in the universe is the best explanation is that there is conceptually some intelligence design behind it. What we see as examples in that we have been looking at, in terms of what we have, the scientists have discovered, all goes towards that same basis, that what we see always points to design. And where we see design is when we see something that is just so sophisticated that the probability or chance that it just occurred naturally without any designer behind it becomes far more diminished. So when you look at anything that is particularly sophisticated, even basic cell structures is incredibly sophisticated to an incredible degree. When you look at the DNA code behind every cell, it points to intelligence. So intelligence is what we see as the most likely, best explanation for the universe we have. So for cosmology,
I understand completely what you're saying. So I have a question. Okay, so you're saying that even scientists agree that the best explanation is that this universe must be created. Okay, it should have an origin. Okay, but they themselves don't prove that there is a starting point. My point is, there was a time when we thought that the earth was flat. Okay, and then there was a time when we thought that the sun was revolving around the earth, but we were wrong. Scientists were able to prove otherwise, right? My point is, even if your explanation could be true, it might be very logical that a god created everything. Even if that's the case, why can't you say that this might be the case, but we are not sure? Like, we don't know what happened, but this should be the case that God created it. Like,
Max,
why? Yeah.
sorry, Max, I think you're not getting my point at all. So I'm going to have to really spell this out. I am not saying that we are having a definite, absolute 100% proof that there was a creator. I'm saying it's the best explanation. So it's a better explanation than there not being an intelligent design creator behind the universe. That is my point. And what you're avoiding here is to accept the logic behind it, which is supported by many scientists with the very latest technology, the latest research, are also in agreement that the Earth, for example, obviously they haven't done the research of the whole universe, but they believe the Earth clearly had an age. It had a starting point, and this is with very, very sophisticated research and tests that have been done that comes to this conclusion. And we're just saying, when you think about the Earth, it's much harder to say that it just exists and it was always there. Just for argument's sake, let's go down the argument there's only an Earth. There's no universe. It's purely the Earth as we know, the planet Earth. To believe that that planet Earth always existed is far more difficult as a explanation than to say that it had some kind of intelligent design behind it. That's the point. That's simple. Well, it's not that we're saying we can absolutely prove it, but we're saying it's a much better explanation.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Because of when we investigate the Earth, it's way too sophisticated and too complex. The universe takes it to.
I have a question regarding Christianity. Okay, this is a bit off topic, but if we don't pray or worship Jesus, if we don't follow Christianity, do we go to hell? Is it true? Because someone told me that.
Max, can I just interrupt here?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
I
sure.
just want to try and see if we can find some common ground with you. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, please.
Can I just read you something?
Hang on, Greg. I'm just going to get myself some water. I'll be back in a sec.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
Ray, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being so polite and well-mannered. Really, Max, it's an absolute pleasure listening to the two of you speaking. The scientific method means principles and procedures for the systematic pursuit of knowledge involving the recognition and formulation of a problem, the collection of data through observation and experiment, and then, most importantly for me, the formulation and testing of these hypotheses. Normally, some repetition is involved. That's when we call it science. Do you agree with that?
Okay, can you repeat that statement once more? Yeah.
So the scientific method is the principles and procedures for the systematic pursuit of knowledge involving the recognition and formulation of a problem, the collection of data through observation and experiment, and then, most importantly, the formulation and testing of these hypotheses. Normally, there would be some repetition of this testing to absolutely prove it. Do you agree with that being the scientific method?
I can agree.
So then we proceed to the state of knowing, the state of truth, which has been established by the general truths, results and consequences obtained by testing through the scientific method. So to call something science, do you agree that we have to use the scientific method to establish that is now no longer a premise, it's no longer theory, it is now actually science?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question to you then is, how do you know something is true?
For me, there are two ways to know if this is true. One is my own experience, and the second thing is if science can prove that that's true. So, with experience, I'll give you a short example. I'll give you a short example. If someone asks, "Is Donald Trump true? Is he actually alive? Is he there?" I have not seen him. I have not met him, but I can conclude based on my experience that human beings are alive and there are presidents in every country, and I have little reason to doubt Donald Trump is true. You're getting my point with experience, yeah.
How do you know you're not a brain in a vat? Dreaming.
A brain and a what?
A brain in a vat of liquid. That you're not a brain just sitting somewhere in a galaxy far away, dreaming all of this.
You're asking how do I know if I'm in a matrix?
Yeah. Call it a matrix, or how do you know you're not just a brain in some liquid with electrodes coming out of you, and you're dreaming all of this?
Yeah, I know this because of two reasons. One is if someone pinches me, I feel the pain, and the second is I don't see any glitches. So if this was a matrix with someone would have created it with coding, there should have been glitches that I would see. But I don't see any glitches, and I feel pain. This is good enough evidence for me to believe that I'm alive, not in a matrix.
But you can't prove it.
Yeah, I can't prove it.
Okay, so what I'm saying to you is then, how do you know anything to be true? How do you know that Donald Trump is a real person and it's not just artificial intelligence?
Based on experience, in the sense that humans humans give birth to humans. I have seen a lot of human beings. So if someone tells me that there's another human in a different country, there's very little reason for me to not believe it. So if someone says, I saw a dog in the river, I know there are dogs. I've seen dogs. I've seen a river. There can be a dog who's like swimming in the river. That can be true. I don't have to believe what he's saying is wrong, but I would not even have any reason to doubt it. But if someone says, I saw a flying horse, then I'll be skeptical. I have seen a bird, I've seen a horse, but I've never seen a flying horse. So he has to give me evidence. Otherwise, I am not in the wrong if I don't believe there's a flying horse.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's just take, sorry, Greg. Let's just take that argument one step further. So what Greg is trying to allude to here is, when you have the evidence that we do know of, that will give us something that we can infer to what is reality. And we ourselves can never be certain on that reality. But if we don't at least believe in that reality based on what is inferred, then we cannot believe in anything. So it has to be that once we establish what we infer as reality, we have to go by where that leads to. When we look,
I have a point to make. You can complete. You can complete.
1 second.
Yeah.
So what that means is, when we look at and what things have been tested to the level they have been tested now, which is where it gets really interesting, because science has progressed to incredible levels now, where it really is beginning to even be very humble in admitting that it is still incredibly insignificant compared to how incredible this world is. And therefore, when you know how incredibly sophisticated this world is, which has now been absolutely confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt, you've got to then ask yourself really honestly, can that just exist? Just be there. It's always been there from no beginning, from no intelligent design, from no purpose, just exists. That,
okay,
to me, that is where I would say, well, I would really struggle as what I would say is the best argument.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I'm not saying that the universe was eternal and it had no starting point. I don't know how universe was created, when it was created. I don't know how life came about. But instead of saying that, um, like like some creature or God created it, I'm ready and open to say that, you know what, I don't know that God created it. So if I say that universe is eternal, that's an assumption to counter your assumption that God is eternal. That was only for the argument's sake. I don't know how Earth came about. So the second point is.
By the way, that's not my assumption, by the way. I'm not making any assumptions at this stage, by the way. I'm just making inferences. There's a big difference. I'm saying, when you look at the universe with no assumptions, purely looking at the universe based on now how much we know, when you go to the library, get the best scientific books out that have now reached the level of understanding of this world and how incredibly sophisticated it is, and especially when it comes to, which was one of the other areas that we were going to look at, is the fine tuning of the universe. I mean, incredibly fine tuned, the tiniest of degree. I mean, smallest of degrees that it was out by, it just would not exist the way it is. It's just incredibly fine tuned. When we look at all these observations of what we see in the world with the level of science that backs it up, it all points to intelligence, to design.
Okay.
That's what I'm inferring.
So,
Would you at least admit, whether you believe you're an atheist or not, that that is a much better explanation than saying there is no intelligence behind it?
yeah, okay. I'll explain that. I'll explain that. Um, when people didn't know Earth was sphere, they saw that you can't see the Earth is sphere. You only see that the Earth is flat. So based on our observation, best explanation is that the Earth is flat. But a few years after that, it was proven that the Earth was sphere by several methods. One of the method is going into the space and taking picture of Earth, right? Now we have evidence, but at that time we were assuming with best explanations that the Earth is flat. My point is, even if your explanation makes sense, let's say your explanation is very, very like rock solid, you are absolutely spot on, but you can't say explanation equal to evidence. You can't say that. You can say that this is the best explanation, but this is not the evidence.
Max,
Yeah.
Max,
Yeah.
I'm going to try one more time with you, mate. I don't know why you don't get my point here. That is my actual point. I said at the very beginning, I'm not going to provide you a definitive evidence proof there is a God. I'm not even trying to do that. All I want to do is take one baby step with you and say, is the argument there is intelligent design a better explanation than there isn't intelligent design? That is all I want you to at least
Yeah,
be
it's not
honest.
a better explanation. It's not a better explanation because if I created a universe and I was testing humans, I wouldn't create any other galaxy. I would just stick to one galaxy, one solar system.
Mate, who
Yeah.
are you to say what God should do?
I think Sai wants
You
to
are,
say
you
something.
ask me. You ask me
No,
if
no,
that makes
I'm being devil's advocate. Why would you think that your demand of what God should do should be the right one? That God should simplify it to just be in a much more simplified version. There's a reason why, if you think about it, why a God would create the level of sophisticated universe that he has. Sai, did you want to jump in there?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Number one, when you're dealing with science, you're doing of observable data. Science is only a methodology of finding out the truth. So, and science today was actually started in the Western world by Christians because they said if God exists, as we know he does, then the world that we see is a reasonable world, and we can find out things whether we're studying biology, physics, chemistry, whatever. So you get people like
Mhm.
Francis Boyle, Isaac Newton, and there. Last time I looked, there are about 210 science disciplines being taught today in colleges, universities throughout the world. Accounting, for example, right? Biochemistry, physics, galactic stars, right?
Mhm.
Paleontology, zoology, aquatic studies. All these were started by Christian thinkers, not atheists, right? Because instead we live in a reasonable world that God made so we can find out how and why things exist. So there are certain scientific laws. Number one, biogenesis is the fact that life gives you life. Life does not come from dead things, right? Because God spoke, so life came. And second, if you study physics, especially, there are thermodynamic principles or laws of thermodynamics. Again, a scientific study that was started by a Christian man, Sir, I forgot his name now. The point is, everything today is running down. There's a law of intrinsic entropy. Entropy is a measurement of the randomness in the universe. Things start from a high level, go down. For example, you may clean up your bedroom tonight or tomorrow, or the kitchen. After you've cleaned it, straight away dust comes back again, almost as if by magic, right? That's entropy, right? Remember, you were talking about why are there earthquakes? Earthquakes are here because man disobeyed God, and God said the consequence is that the earth has become cursed. Okay, so you will find volcanoes, earthquakes, tremors as a consequence of man not being the president of planet Earth and using it the way God said he's supposed to use it. So, as part of the punishment, these things in a natural order, or so we say, have come about. But we believe that God, through Jesus Christ, will restore the world back to a state of perfection. So the law of increasing entropy also is telling you that because things are going downhill now, if you go back in time more and more, you come to a point of origin where everything is perfect. It cannot go before that, but that's the beginning of time, space, history. So everything starts from there. So the universe had a beginning, but is running downhill exactly as the Bible says in Genesis and also in the book of Peter, right? So we're not surprised what's happening in the world today. Now, finally, the one who made all the things in the universe and beyond. Now you say, what about the rest of the galaxies? Yeah, God made them because God is a beautiful mathematician, designer. And yet he put a little planet called planet Earth right here where we live. There's nobody else out there. And this is where we have our life. But the rest of the universe, God made it beautiful so that you can actually wonder the heavens declare the glory of God. That's our whole purpose. Okay?
Okay, so
And that creator is Jesus.
Okay, I completely completely understood what you were telling me, and I thank you for explaining me that. But I wanna ask, I wanna go to the previous speaker. I have one question that was unanswered, and I'll tell you why that is important. And then I'll answer your question. You were saying, who am I to decide what God should do, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So my first question. Yeah, my first question is a little bit of yes and no. What happens if I don't follow Christianity and don't worship Jesus? Do I go to hell after I die? Is that true? Like, I just want a small answer.
It depends. You certainly will go to hell, or you will not come under, if you like, the realm of God, which is an eternal life with God. You will once you die, that will be your end, and that will be the end of your life. That's what we will ultimately will call hell, where those that do not receive favor under God will not be with God for eternity. And that is on the basis that you've been given an opportunity. So once you hear the word of Jesus, once you hear the gospel and you're aware of, which you obviously are, we would recommend that you need to look into this, because if you deny Christ, then you would deny eternal life with God. So that is what the scriptures explain.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So I want to reply to your question. So I said that according to me, an intelligent designer shouldn't have created all the other planets just because he's testing life on Earth. Okay, and you ask me, who am I to decide what God should do? So I'll tell you who I am. I am the one who God's wants me to wants him to worship. Like, I'm the one who can worship God, or who can decide not to worship God. So with that position, I demand some explanation as to why God is randomly killing people in earthquakes, and why did he create so many galaxies and so many stars, and why is male nipple important? What's the point of it?
Right. Yeah.
With
Let me
that
just
capacity.
let me just answer the question. So the problem. So I don't. When I say why are you? I'm not saying you as in you personally. I'm just saying generically. Why, as an individual, feel they have a right to demand how God should have created the universe? With our limited ability, we have got to be humble and say, well, let's see, and we can understand why God did create the universe. We see in the Bible there are explanations about this, which actually Sai did mention, was when we start to have the ability to look into the universe, even just purely at the night sky and look into the stars, look into the elements of the heavens, and then going beyond that, when we now have telescopes and what have you, we actually say we see even further evidence of incredible beauty, incredible sophistication. That even if the Earth wasn't impressive enough, the universe is now so incredibly impressive that you've got to say to yourself, this is just so awesome that this cannot be just there by chance.
I have a follow-up question.
Just be there without there being some sort of designer that had a purpose, and that purpose was not just to create, but to make something so wonderful, so incredible.
This was such a good answer, because now my follow-up question can make sense. I really love this answer. So God went extra steps just to prove that he's there. He created it. The evidence, the beauty of this universe. One of the reasons, right? So my next question is, if God can create billions and billions of other planets just to prove his existence, there are so many atheists on this planet. Why can't just God come and show up himself from the clouds? Like, why can't he just come down? Wait, let me complete. No. Let me complete. Yeah, please, let me complete. Why can't he just why can't he just drop down from the skies and create life in front of us, like create a bird or an elephant, proving that he is a god, and then all this debate about God will go away and I'll shut up. Why can't he do that? Yeah.
Greg, if you want to give it a go, I'd love to answer this as well. But Greg, if you've got an answer,
you go for it, man. That's your show.
So my point here is, this is where it gets interesting, Max.
Yeah.
This is where it's just phenomenal. If we look at life, we look at some of the most intelligent people on this planet. Okay, whoever that may be, we could probably put 1,000 people in a room, 20,000 people in a room, all with the most sophisticated and intelligent minds that we know of, that currently live today. If we put them all in a room and we give them the evidence you're talking about, I promise you, very few will still believe. Even if it stares them in the face, they will say, oh yeah, it's some trick, it's some... Even when things that are supernatural occurring in front of them, which is unequivocal as evidence, we will still have people doubting it. People still come and say, I still don't believe. And that is the problem. No matter how absolutely clear-cut evidence it is that there is a God, they still won't believe. So no matter what God will come up with, it doesn't seem to work.
Okay, I have a reply.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
It still doesn't become absolutely clear-cut evidence. However, God uses a much better way, and that is this. He provides enough evidence to prove that there is a God, and then he connects that evidence with a personal relationship with him, which we believe, we are Christian believers, that when we receive that personal connection with God, which is through Jesus Christ, we then have the completion of that answer in a way that, even though it's not 100% proof, this is the best bit coming now, it's good enough evidence that we would even sacrifice our lives in knowing that it's true. That is something that we will share with you at a later stage in the episodes, and it will be on other streams. Why we believe as Christians that God is true, based on the personal relationship, in addition to the evidence we got around us. But it's that personal relationship which is the golden nugget to why we believe God is real. And that's certainly something we can share with you in future streams. Not a problem.
I have a reply for that.
Can I just supplement that answer very quickly,
Sure,
Max?
sure.
Here's 100% proof for you that God exists. Okay?
Mhm.
This is 100% proof. I don't doubt God can prove his existence to us. But from what Ray's just said, here's God's revelation to you, Max. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, and birds, and four-footed animals, and creeping things. Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanliness in the lusts of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves. So there you have 100% proof that God exists. He's created you from what you have inside you, the complexity of just your human eye, with 3 million cells in it, and with the sun, which gives off the equivalent of 15 billion atomic bombs every second. That's how much energy comes from the sun. All these things are God's evidence that he is there. And you already believe in God, but you suppress that truth. You suppress the truth and push it down. He's given us prophecy. He's given us history. The years are named after him. He's given us up his son so that we can live together with him. That's why Jesus died on the cross. Jesus dying on the cross is not just something that happened that the Romans punished him. This was prophesied 700-800 years before it. When they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they read through Isaiah, they read through the book of Isaiah, they read through Psalm 22, and they realized that carbon dating the parchments and the paper, they realized that this was not a post-Jesus writing, that this was written before Jesus. So the rabbinic Jews that side debates on Tuesday nights, and this is a marvelous time to come in to find out about all these prophecies and all this history and the continuity that comes through from creation through the fall of man, when Eve and Adam sinned, and every single person has inherited that sin. So from then we've needed a savior. So when you are saying, why doesn't God just come down and drop down from the skies and create stuff? Like Ray said, no matter what evidence God gives you, you will harden your heart and not believe. And
I
this
get it.
is the I'm not speaking about you, Max. I'm speaking about mankind. I'm speaking about myself, Ray, Arul, Sai, John, all of us. We're all in that state. And then you soften your heart and you humble yourself and you realize that God is perfect and he's holy. A holy God can only dwell in a holy environment. He cannot be contaminated with sin and evil. So when you have these discussions with Ray, and you're saying, yeah, this is a possibility, this is a feasibility. Science doesn't do everything. What God's revealed to us in his word proves that he is God.
Okay, so I have a reply. Again, thanks, Greg, for explaining me that.
Thank
so I'm a reasonable man. So if if God shows up and create something in front of me, create life in front of me, I'll start believing in God. I won't question it, because now I have physical evidence. And the best part is not only I'll believe in him, I'll actually be in awe of him, in awe. So when I go and see mountains, right, I'm in awe of their beauty. I respect the mountains. I believe there are mountains, and I respect how big and powerful mountains are. So I'm in awe of them. So if I come to know that there's a God who can actually create planets, life, and everything, not only I'll believe him, I'll worship him. I'll have no reason to go against him, and I would want to be with him for eternity. But that again is only if he shows up. But if when he shows up, I will start believing in him. And there would be a lot of atheists who will convert for sure, because no one today, no one can say, do you believe in cars? Everyone has seen a car. Okay, so I have a question about Christianity. Okay, Greg and
Right,
Ray, I have a question about.
Max, before you do the question, let me just respond to your point.
Yeah.
So there is actually a major flaw with this argument, even though it's a reasonable one in some ways. Here's the problem with it.
Mhm.
If we put this argument or test, if you like, to every human being that doesn't believe in God, some
Mhm.
may be convinced. You may be convinced. You don't know for certain until you see it. But based on what you are aware of and based on what you believe in yourself, you're confident
Uh-huh.
there's a very good chance you will believe. It also
Yeah.
depends on how God presents himself as that evidence. So that's
Yeah.
the first thing. The second issue with that is that's you, not every single atheist.
I agree. I
So
agree.
where you got other atheists that don't agree, what
Uh-huh.
that means is we don't have a consistent method that can apply to everybody equally and fairly. So for those that can't grasp it, will miss out. The ones that can may grasp it, and maybe
Yeah,
even
makes sense.
later
Makes
on,
sense.
decide, oh, it's not good enough. I need another one, or I need another one. And so what you end up doing is only having a select number that will believe through that method,
Yeah,
and
makes
there'll be
sense.
a
Makes
select
sense.
number that won't. So what we're saying, and what the God of the Bible puts in detail in his scriptures, is a method
Mhm.
that can be applied to everybody, no matter what his position is. And the way that God does that is because he touches our hearts as well as our minds. It's a combination of evidence in reality that we see. It is also
Mhm.
in the concept of our conceptual mind, or the way our mind works, which I will come to later as one of my arguments, which is called the moral argument. We'll come to that in a second. And then, as I said, it's the personal connection that is dealt with, which we will unpack at some later stage in the stream, of how God
Mhm.
deals with that personal relationship in a fair and just way, no matter who the individual is, whether he's poor, whether he's rich, whether he's got health issues, whether he's been tortured, whichever place he lives in the world, whichever time in history that he lives. They are all receiving an equal way of coming to know God in a just and fair way. And it's that method is the only method which God provides in detail in scripture that actually makes sense as a best way to prove he exists. So it's a combination, if you like, of, and let's quickly go through those concepts for you, is the reality itself.
Mhm.
It's the conceptual aspects of the mind, our moral, if you like, our morality, our heart condition, the love, and all these different qualities which you can't put in a test tube, but we know exist, that points to something that shows there's care and love and all the rest of it. We have what we call prophecies, written documents of events and prophecies that were written well before they happened, showing a level of supernatural involvement, which we call God, touching people's lives in events that then 400, 500, 600 years later are proven to be true. The most important of which is the birth, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and also as I say, this amazing connection, spiritual connection that is encompassing the God's word that then explains how this all fits. And when you read through that, you have the real life experience of God. You see what God is in terms of the physical reality in the world and how that works within our minds as human beings, which is very special in terms of the concepts that we have, which cannot be part of any just evolutionary process. This is something very incredible, unique, what we all have share of in our minds, this whole thing. Who is this greater mind behind our concept of understanding us as humans? God is the one that touches us and fits putting all these pieces of the puzzle together, that when you put them all together, that then becomes the completion of the evidence itself. So if you take anything in isolation, you're always going to ask questions. But when you fit them all together, that's when you then have the complete picture. It will be the difference of convincing you from being an atheist to believing there's a God.
Okay, I completely understand your point of view. I don't have any counter arguments or questions, but I do have two questions about Christianity, which is not related to existence of God, but about Jesus and Christianity. So, first question is Jesus the messenger of God, or is Jesus God?
So why are you asking?
I want to know Christianity, because when I talk to Islamic people, they have well-defined God called Allah, and Prophet Muhammad is themselves.
To not spoil the stream, and I think it's a very, I kind of get where you're coming from here. So if you can leave in the chat, you can leave your details. We can follow this up and we can have a proper discussion.
No problem.
Answering those questions.
It was a pleasure talking to you, Ray. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Okay, man.
Can I before Max leaves, Max, so did Max make a case for God's non-existence? Did you do that? Well, what was that case? I didn't in the last
my case was if there was a God, there shouldn't be any earthquakes, because God created planet Earth. We are dying in earthquakes. He should fix it. Like there shouldn't be any earthquakes. This was my point.
How does that logically flow?
Yeah, because if I created a car and the clutch plate isn't working, it's my responsibility to fix it.
No, but how the clutch plate not working? How does that make you non-existent?
I'm saying, if I made a car and the clutch plate is not working, then it's my responsibility to fix it. And if I'm not fixing it, I would have, in a way, abandoned the whole manufacturing process, right?
Yeah. Max, yes. One second. If you made a car, and the clutch plate stopped working, and let's say you don't fix the clutch plate, that is no proof that you didn't exist.
No, but I can give them the proof that this is my factory, this is the address of factory, this is where
No, don't go anywhere else. Please don't go anywhere else. The mere non-functioning of your clutch and you not fixing it doesn't mean you don't exist. The very existence of even a non-functioning clutch means that you existed to begin with.
Okay, makes sense. So in that
so that
case,
isn't a good case. So did you have any?
I agree.
Did you give any other case for the non-existence of God?
This is my best evidence, because God
this is not evidence. So the very existence of a car and a clutch plate in the car means that the creator of the car exists. For whatever reason it doesn't fix it is a different story. But the very existence of such a non-functioning clutch plate with the car still means the creator exists. Just because the clutch plate isn't fixed, it doesn't mean the creator suddenly ceases to exist.
I understand what you're saying. So in a way, if I can't disprove God, then it should be your responsibility to prove God. And the only thing that I got from this stream is the best explanation is that there should be a God. So I still didn't get an evidence. So now I don't.
So Max, let me just make my point, which is the premise at the very beginning. We're not here to give you absolute evidence, and there was reasons why I said that. What I'm saying to you is this: if the evidence we give is a better explanation that there is a God than believing there is not a God, why can't you then change your view to believe there is a God because it's a better explanation?
Because explanation isn't equal to proof. I would rather say, yeah, your explanation makes sense, but we still need to prove it, because
hold the bus, Max. Can you prove that God does not exist?
I can't, but it's not my responsibility to disprove. It's
so
not
why
my.
You believe, so no. Why are you believing there is not a God then? If you can't give proof there is a God, then you can't prove there isn't a God. Why are you picking there is no God rather than there is a God?
Because God, by definition, should be all powerful, and some people say he loves us all, and all that claim that anyone who says there is a God, they say he loves us all. But then he's killing us randomly in earthquakes. How can if I love my child, I wouldn't randomly kill him. That's not how love works. And the person who say
Max, you're veering away from logic right now. Please, I'd really like to know, do you have an evidence for the non-existence of God or not?
No, only arguments, no evidence.
So you haven't got evidence. Do you have arguments for the non-existence of God?
I gave the argument. There shouldn't be any
no,
arguments.
We said your argument doesn't hold water. Clutch plate unfixed yet does not mean the creator suddenly ceases to exist.
Okay, then he abandoned us. The creator then abandoned us. Then why do you worship him?
Whatever happened, the mere existence of even a non-functioning clutch plate means the creator of that clutch plate is around. Well, he could be a vagabond. He could be an irresponsible person. That's a different story. But the mere non-fixing or the mere no attempt in fixing the malfunctioning clutch plate doesn't make him go into non-existence.
I can't
so
disprove
it is still
God,
not an argument. So do you have an argument to suggest that God doesn't exist?
That was my best argument. If you don't want to consider that as an argument, that's fine. But
it's not an argument. Logically, it doesn't work. That's not an argument.
I don't have any argument or proof against existence of God. I don't have that.
Cool. That's fine.
It's not my job. It's not my job to disprove God. It's your job to prove that you believe in religion for the ABC.
Max, no, that's not what we're doing here. Max, the most important thing of all is the atheist position, by the way, is not a negative defensive position putting the onus on the believer of God. The atheist position, as of today, is a positive position that they are saying, the experts are saying, that the evidence in front of them, based on their research, is that there is not a God. So that is the atheist position as of today. 100 years ago, whatever, maybe that was a position, but the position is advanced. So our discussion is to take on that position of looking at the evidence or the best explanation to whether there is a God versus there isn't. So one of the steps that Arrow is basically saying to you is, rather than look at what type of God and the justification for this, at least start with whether the existence makes more logical sense. We can then look at how God operates as a separate thing. But if we believe there is a creator more than there is not a creator, that's the step we're looking for. The one, when we want to look into the detail of whether God is morally correct, the way that God has created the earth, the way the earth is now in the chaos it is that God's fault, and so forth. That is a completely different argument. Our argument is purely at this stage whether he exists. What type of God that exists is a secondary part. It's not what is the basis of whether he actually exists. So we're just purely looking at the evidence. Does it make more logical sense that there is a God, which is what we're calling the intelligent designer, if you like, just to make it a bit easier for you, that is the better explanation of the origin of the life than there being no intelligent design, no creator behind the universe, behind the origin, as the best possible explanation. That's the point.
So if I were you, if I were in your position, and it made more sense, logical sense, and better explanation to know that there is a God. Okay, even if I was in your position, I would still tell other people that this is a better explanation. This is more logical, but we can't say for certain that there is a God. This makes sense, but I have no proof, so I'm not 100% sure. I am 90% sure. There's a chance that 10% I might be wrong because this hasn't been proven. If I was you, I would say that to any atheist.
Yeah, but what you said there, Max, but what you said there's got a fundamental flaw. We are not saying that we don't have evidence. We're just saying that the evidence isn't absolute, but it's strong. It's the best evidence to explain, to provide the best explanation of the origin. So if, for example, you had a choice to pick two different motor cars. Now we're speaking about cars. Let's go on to cars. Say you had a choice between pick two cars, and this is the car you're going to use to take your family to work, to trips. You're going to put your trust in this vehicle, and you got a choice between two vehicles. You haven't got absolute proof because you don't know who built this car. You don't know every single thing about the car. There's going to be an element of trust in the manufacturer of the car, but there is enough evidence as the best evidence between the two cars for you to make an informed decision on which car you're going to purchase. And you're going to do that based on the limited information and evidence you have. It's not going to be 100%, but it's going to be a reasonably good level. This is what we're saying. We have a good, reasonable level that if you had a choice, you're going to pick the best of the two. That's the most sensible and logical thing. That car, whatever that car is, you're going for that car. Because even though you're not certain that this car is going to be okay, it's going to get you from A to B in a safe way, you're just more convinced.
I get your point.
Right.
I get your point. So with the car logic.
So rather than just getting my point, what we're saying is you've got to now start changing the way you're approaching this and say, well, that's convincing to me. That makes logical sense. Therefore, that follows. Therefore, the question is, why don't I not act on that logic rather than just saying?
Okay. I'll reply. This is a very good argument, by the way. This is absolutely brilliant argument. That if I, with my limited knowledge, know that the car A is safer than car B, then I'll go with car A, and that's absolutely right. Then why shouldn't I go and start believing in God? Because that makes logical sense based on our limited knowledge. The reason is the car manufacturer or the car is not saying that if you choose our car, here's the list of sins that you'll do, and if you do these sins, you'll go to hell and burn forever. But with your explanation, you introduce the concept of sin, and now I have to live in fear that if I commit this sin, I'll burn in hell forever.
Okay, that's fine.
You're getting my point.
Yeah, totally get your point. And that's that's a first valid point.
Can I please make this point? In the historical person of Jesus Christ, we have the perfect evidence for the existence of God?
What's that?
The death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ.
If he has resurrected, where is he?
No. Please, before asking, haphazard questions, do you appreciate the point that we're making? If he had died, if he was buried, and if he came back alive, that's perfect evidence for the existence of God,
Yeah,
and that
if
God
that
being Jesus
happens,
Christ.
if he resurrected, then it is an evidence that he is a god. But how can you prove that he resurrected?
We can come to the outcome. So as an atheist, you don't have evidence for the non-existence of God. As theists, we are not just saying we have a better explanation, but we are also saying in the person of Jesus Christ, there is the perfect evidence for the existence of God.
Where is the
And
evidence
then,
that he
Right.
resurrected?
So Max, just to take on this hour's point, which is part of what I mentioned earlier, as part of one of those elements, and it's a very significant element to why, as Christians, we believe that the God that we believe is the true God, the God that proves the existence of God. Now, what I would say to you is this: we can't go from, say, for example, today you start to believe that, yes, okay, now maybe I am convinced that maybe there is a God. What we can't do is go from step 1 to step 9, like you're doing, and say, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? We have to take it step by step. But if we take it logically through the steps, which will lead us to Jesus, it will lead us to answering all these questions about morality, sin, and all the rest of it. Further down the line, what we can't do is put that at the beginning and start explaining it, because it's all going to not make sense at this stage. But if we take it logically through its natural steps, all this will fit. So what I would say is, take the journey with us. Follow just this stream. You can follow some other streams as well. But we are going to take it step by step through the process to give you the best possible way, so that it all will fit. It's like anything, if you wanted to dress yourself ready for a major event, you're going to put on your socks, your shoes, whatever, trousers, one step at a time, getting yourself ready. What you're not going to do is start worrying about things that you need to, like which cologne you want to put on, do you want to wear a hat? If you haven't got your basic, you've got to take it one step at a time. So we would say and encourage you, let's take that journey one step at a time. We will get to detailing how this all leads to Christ, how this is what we call the Christian argument. When we follow it through naturally through the steps that we're going to follow, and then we will bring in Christ at the right time, when we start talking about morality, when we start talking about God's nature, God's personality, and so forth. We're going to slot those pieces in when they're ready. But we don't want to slot them in.
Ray, 1 second. So we can give a quick historical case for Jesus Christ. I mean, that's a straightforward case. That so in the person, so the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ is immediate and perfect evidence for the existence of God, especially in the person of Jesus Christ. When I say this, Max, when I say this, the right way in which you take the next step is not to ask some secondary questions. That's not how you do things. That's not how you do science. What you should rather ask is, how do you present a case for this historicity of Jesus? That's what you should ask. Rather than asking that, if you told us, well, where in heaven he is, which room he is in, you come across as someone who is not intellectually sincere, but rather is trying to make, just for the sake of, undermining something, just make. But do you appreciate this? The historical person of Jesus Christ. Would you like us to build a case for him or not?
Please do that.
Okay. looking at all evidence from the first century, from qualified sources, Jesus lived, died, came back alive.
Okay. Why should I believe you? Like you're just a random person who can lie.
Yeah, but okay.
I don't want to be rude. I'm just saying
You're not being rude.
I
You're
can
being
lie to
silly.
you. I'm a
Max,
random.
you're
Yeah.
not. Let me be honest with you. You're not being
Yeah.
rude. You're being silly. Let's put it this way.
I'm a random person. I can lie to you, right? That's what I'm saying. Why should I believe
Okay,
that
Max.
this
Max, 1 second. Okay. How old are you right now, Max?
33.
33. And bachelor's degree, master's degree, what did you do?
Masters.
In which field?
In marketing.
In bachelor's?
Marketing, same.
Yeah, marketing. Can you imagine going to uni, bachelor's degree, going to uni, and in the first semester or whatever, and one of the subjects is some marketing preferences or whatever, and professor shows up, a lecturer or professor shows up, and he begins by saying, "Hey guys, I'm going to teach you this this model of marketing," and then you suddenly put your hand up and say, "You are some random guy. Why should I believe in you?" Can you imagine doing that?
I don't imagine doing that.
Why would you not do that? It'll be very silly, wouldn't it be?
No, it won't be, because he's not saying that what I'm teaching you, if you believe me, then you'll have to
No,
believe that there's a list.
you're coming across more.
Can you let me complete?
You're coming across sillier right now.
No, can you
Matt?
complete? Let me complete.
Sure,
I'm
go on.
saying if he says that whatever I'm saying you should believe, and when you believe, I'll give you a list of sins. If you do that, you'll burn in hell forever and ever. He's not threatening me with hell, but with
That's not the
your
question asked. The question asked was very simple. Forget about God for a moment. The question asked was very simple. You are entering into your bachelor's degree, university. There is a course in a semester about marketing preferences. You show up there, a lecturer or professor shows up. He says, "Hey guys, I need to teach you a model in marketing." My question was very simply, would you immediately say, "You
No,
are
I
just
won't.
a random person, why would I believe in you"?
I won't.
That's the question asked. That's the answer expected. I don't know why you're getting confused. You seem to be hung up on, undermining the case so desperately. I don't know if that's training, listening to someone else or whatever. So, likewise, let me ask you: are you aware of the historical case for the Lord, for the person of Jesus Christ?
No, I'm not.
Sure. So, pretty much very similar. Like how you showed up in a bachelor's degree when you weren't with any clue about marketing. Your professor should know better. We are saying we have a case. You don't know. A sincere person would just say, "Give me details."
Yeah, please share
A
me
very
your
insincere
case.
person, a very insincere person would say, you know what? A very insincere person would say, "You're just a random guy. Why should I believe in you?" This is what a very insincere person would say. So
Okay,
I'd like to find out if you're going to be sincere as we progress now.
for sure,
And
not a problem.
yeah, you are not aware of the case. Now we are going to walk you through the case step by step. But I'd like to see if you're going to be sincere as we do that.
And just before you start on that, Errol, just a point be very interesting for you, Max. One of the renowned atheist scholars, historical scholars, that have studied the history of the Bible and those times is a guy called Bart Ehrman. I don't know if you've heard of Bart Ehrman, but one of his actual quotes, which I think is quite fascinating, he said, "Of all the people in history, Jesus Christ is the most certain fact of anyone that he knows in history." So the powerful evidence we have for Christ is very, very significant. This is coming from an atheist who's a
Mhm.
very renowned historian of the time in terms of the studies of Jesus and all the biblical characters and all around those historical periods.
Mhm.
He's come to the conclusion that Jesus is the most factual individual of being a genuine, true individual that did exist with the evidence that supported it. And so, therefore, that is information that is available when you do research on the evidence of Jesus Christ. So that's a great starting point. Over to you, Errol.
Yeah.
Thanks a
So
lot.
are we both on the? Are we all on the same page, Max? Are you on the same
Yes,
page
yes.
with us?
Yes,
with,
yes. I wanna hear the case for Christ. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That there was a historical person called Jesus Christ. We on the same
Mhm.
page? You
Yeah.
don't
Yep.
disagree?
No, I don't.
Cool. Okay. Now, one more step. This historical person called Jesus Christ died as a result of crucifixion, Roman
Mhm.
crucifixion. He
Mhm.
died a very excruciating death at the hands of Roman um, apparatus through the
Mhm.
cross. Are we on the same
Mhm.
page?
Yep. Yep.
You
I
don't need
agree.
evidence for this?
Nah.
You're aware of
I
this?
don't. Yeah.
We're on the same page. Okay,
Mhm.
no problem. Now, prior to him being crucified, essentially, because of what he said, what he did, multiple parties were
Mhm.
were keenly involved
Mhm.
on his case. Multiple parties, multiple sides,
Mhm.
keeping an eye on each other, keeping check of each other. These parties are the Roman first century Roman Empire's apparatus,
Mhm.
including the military, number one. Number
Mhm.
two, Jewish religious leadership.
Mhm.
And number three, disciples of Jesus Christ. Three different
Mhm.
parties, at least, involved, keeping an eye on each other. Are we on the same page?
Mhm. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, as he died, everyone had already understood that he said he would come back alive. This was an
Mhm.
expectation among the disciples, and other guys had also been made aware that Jesus claimed such things.
Mhm.
Jesus died. He
Mhm.
was every capable eye
Mhm.
at that time was on the case.
Mhm.
In that context, on the third day, the tomb went empty.
Okay.
Are we on the same page?
Yes. Yes.
Given the circumstances, and we'll add any detail that is needed for clarification, but given the circumstances of the case, the
Mhm.
only logical explanation was that, as his disciples later on claimed, that he showed up alive, he had
Mhm.
come back alive
Mhm.
from being dead. That is the only logical explanation. To believe in anything else, given the circumstances of the case, would be like believing in fairy tales, would be
Mhm.
like believing tooth fairies, would be like
Mhm.
believing in flying horses. Believing in any
Mhm.
other thing, given the circumstance, would be believing in fantasy ideas.
Can
Are
I add
we?
a
Mhm.
point to that, Errol?
Yeah, sure.
The Roman guards and the Roman emperor, the Roman leadership at the time, had known the seriousness issue with the life of Jesus and how that caused a real ripple, if you like, or disturbance as this so-called Messiah, because it was
Mhm.
going completely against the Roman Empire. What the Roman Empire wanted to make sure is to shut down who this Jesus was. So they didn't want there any risk that this Jesus could escape, could reappear. So the amount of effort that they would have put in to secure the tomb, they had 2 guards regularly through shifts, manning the tomb, etc. It was because the level of security required was because they wanted to make absolutely certain that there was going to be no way that Christ was ever going to survive, miraculously appear, somehow escape, or anything. They were that, because of their overall concern of who this Jesus was, the impact it was against the Roman Empire's regime and plans. As you know, the main Roman plan was to remove all other societies, to be completely overruled and controlled by the Roman Empire. And that's a very strong evidence of that. I'm sure you would agree. The Roman Empire had put an incredible amount of effort to ensure that this Jesus was not going to escape, even if, he was pretty much dead anyway. They were making absolute certain. So that was just another little thing to consider.
Yeah. So Arul, I have a question there with the so why can't, if Jesus resurrected, why can't he just show up? Like, why are we relying on a few people's testimony that they saw him after his death? Why can't
Max,
Jesus come out?
I heard this question that you asked earlier. Actually, in 5 minutes time, if I clarify something, this question will come across as a very, very primitive, silly question. And so I really want to keep this aside for a moment. And I want to focus on the case that we are presenting. The case that we are presenting is, given the circumstances of the case, the only explanation was that Jesus came back alive. Are you on the same page with us?
I don't, because someone could have taken his body and threw it out. That's another explanation. It's not
Very good
necessary
point.
that someone came out of the tomb is always alive. Someone could have just taken his body and throw it out. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. That's very, very good. Yeah, at least now we are thinking. You're giving me possibilities, giving us possibilities. So Tihar jail in India.
Yeah.
When someone that the government doesn't like is put inside, and let's say Mr. Modi has his government apparatus sent there to secure the prison to make sure this fellow doesn't come out, could he come out easily?
Nah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
He'll
understand?
have to be a genius to come out.
Absolutely. Jesus was state enemy. The Roman apparatus, which arguably, by the way, if you read military history, the first century Roman military is unrivaled even till date.
Okay.
For Roman military's discipline, the Roman military's discipline is unrivaled till date. We only have technological advancements today, not disciplinary advancements.
Okay.
When Jesus was put in the grave, the grave was sealed. The grave, a rock was used as a door to cover the grave entrance. It was sealed, and Roman soldiers were put on duty to guard.
Okay.
24/7.
Yeah. So 3-level protection. This is multiply Tihar jail with Mr. Modi's instruction from some special forces to protect.
No, I get your point. You're saying it's impossible to take his body out and throw away, right? You're saying that, right?
Impossibility.
Okay, I agree with that.
Sure.
Now my question is, Jesus died and is 6 feet under the ground, okay? And now he resurrects, his eyes open. How does he get out of his grave? Like, if it is that difficult to take it out, how can Jesus come out then?
Come to this later. Now, let's put it this way. Well, one of the important things, Max, in any logical discussions like this is for you to understand our case first.
I'm understanding. I'm getting what you're saying.
I'm asking you, so you understand right now, stealing the body is impossible.
Yeah.
Do you have any alternative explanations?
I don't.
So okay, fine, okay, cool. So as long as we answer the questions you might have, you would then agree. It's a logical inference. You would agree that the only explanation is that he rose up again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So coming to you, so your question now was that let's assume he rose up again. How did he escape if it was so secure?
Yeah.
And the explanation is supernatural action in play.
Okay.
Someone who was bear in mind, if God was was at work here, and if he could, the more difficult part is not leaving the tomb, but rather bringing him back alive.
Okay.
Leaving the tomb, like I said, is let's say 100 times more difficult than escaping Tihar jail. But coming back alive is an infinitely more difficult thing to do.
And
Agreed.
One quick point here, Al.
Yeah, sure.
The other little evidence over the supernatural is that during the life of Christ, during his ministry, when he was from 30 years old, he was performing many miracles. And those miracles, of course, are in public view. The people around the land, Romans as well, many people witnessed and they recorded many of the events that took place where Jesus performed miracles in terms of healing, converting water to wine, and so forth. So there was a record already, a supernatural record that Jesus provided as evidence of the supernatural. Over to you, Al.
Yeah. So with us so far, Max?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, what we are saying is, if Jesus could come back alive, then breaking this strong Roman apparatus and getting out of the cave is only a fraction of difficult task when compared to coming back alive.
Agreed.
Yeah. So in other words, you don't even have to be worried about how did he leave. You only need to be worried about how did he come back alive. And that's where Brother Ray, the point that Brother Ray is making is very important. This Jesus already had a track record of these miracles, So it's sort of for those who were around at that time, they would have been. It's like it's like Superman escaping a room, sort of stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Sure. So let's come back to the case again. I think you really need to scrutinize this more. There are a few other options over the centuries that people have put forth. Now, if I could add a couple of more points to the case, just so you understand. So Jesus was adjudged to be dead. People had verified that he was dead. He was put inside the grave. It wasn't underground. It wasn't under the surface. It was really like a cave. It was put inside. The grave. Stone covered it, sealed. Roman god. Now, on the third day, his disciples saw him alive. They saw him alive, or at least that's what they claimed. They saw him alive is what they claimed. Interestingly, we have evidence, historical records, Christians saying that they saw him alive, non-Christians verifying that these Christians behaved consistent with seeing a dead person back alive.
Okay.
So both Christians and non-Christians testify to slightly different facts here. Christians testify that they saw him alive. Non-Christians testify that these Christians who claim that they saw him alive actually behave consistent with having seen a dead person alive.
Okay.
And so, in this context, and the tomb went empty, tomb was empty, to the utter shame and shock of the Roman apparatus and of the Jewish leadership. Suggest to me if there is any other option as opposed to the option, the only logical option that he came back alive. Is there any other option here?
Maybe not.
Yeah, so that is so. In other words, when there is no other option, to believe that he did not go on.
So, why are we relying on people's testimony that they saw him? Why can't just Jesus show himself? Like, why hide?
Why? No one is hiding. No, don't say stuff which isn't true. No
Listen,
one is
I'm
hiding.
not being disrespectful. Listen, Arun, I just want to be clear. I'm not here to disrespect Jesus, God, Allah, Christianity. Absolutely not. You're making a case. I am just asking you bluntly, why is he hiding? Like, why can't he show up? That's the only thing. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone here.
No,
I just want to
no
be
problem, Max. No one is saying you are disrespecting. What
Perfect.
we are saying is, why are you saying stuff which isn't true? No one is Jesus isn't hiding anywhere. Is all that I'm saying. He isn't hiding anywhere. To suggest that remotely he would be historically untrue. But let's not get there. My point simply is, why I really don't understand why you think him showing up is any better than what has happened. I really don't understand. It's not a logical
The
point at
reason
all,
is,
in my view.
it is because
Why? Please explain.
I've seen documentaries where a lot of people are consistently saying they were abducted by UFOs and aliens. There was a few years back in India, there was a rumor that there's a monkey man, a man who can jump on trees and is invisible. There's a monkey man, and every person's story was consistent. It came out that it's false, right? So my point is, why should we rely on the testimony of people saying they saw Monkey Man when we can actually see Monkey Man? Why is Monkey Man hiding? Now
Max,
Max,
it's a nice example you're bringing up. The monkey man issue is a nice example you're bringing up.
Yeah, do you remember that, by the way?
I do.
Yeah, perfect.
Good. About the monkey man, there merely existed claims that he was sighted, he was seen. That was many people claimed true. Yeah. What did they see? Someone that, of course, was behaving partly like a man, but clearly was a monkey because of his appearance.
Yeah.
This could have been very easily a man with some monkey costumes, wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
So this is. I don't even know why you're bringing this in here. I am talking about the Roman apparatus. Please pay attention to the details of the case. Monkey Man, the Indian military weren't on his case. Neither was the prime minister on his case. Neither was any chief minister on his case. Neither was any police department on his case. No one was on his case apart from some media picking up and making news out of it. No one else was on his case. No one provided any tangible reference to suggest this was really a monkey which behaved like a man. No one provided any evidence. In contrast with Jesus Christ, the Roman apparatus was involved. Please don't ignore this. They had an incentive. Brother Ray indicated this earlier. They had an incentive to make sure this story did not go out of control. You know why? Because Romans were already struggling to keep control and peace over the land of Judea, which is not something they liked at all. Roman Empire. Roman Empire crushes, literally can crush anyone who goes out of control. But of course, they don't want to cause unnecessary problems because they want to rule over people also, not just empty lands.
Yeah.
So the Roman apparatus was involved. Don't compare it to monkey man.
I understand what you're saying. My point is, why do we have to rely on a few people's testimony when
That's not the
Jesus
question
can
asked.
just
What is the alternative? What is the alternative
Jesus
explanation for the
shows
case at
himself
hand?
up.
What's that?
Jesus can show himself up, just like before he was dead. He was out there in public
Maybe you
talking to
misunderstood my
people.
question, Max. What
Yeah,
is
what's the
given
question?
instead of saying, hey, why can't the case be like this? Why can't the case be like that? Why can't the case be like that? And so on.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, focus on
Yeah.
the case which God wants to present. Stick to the case at hand. It's a pretend that you are a CBI officer, which is
Yeah.
essentially an investigative officer in Indian terms, who
Yeah.
is assigned to a forensic case.
So can I put a very quick point here, Harold?
Well, let me finish one second, Ray. The criminal officer assigned to a forensic case will not be standing there and thinking and suggesting, hey, can I please have the case in a different way? Can I please have the case in some other way? That's not no. You need to look at the case.
I understand
and
what
try
you're
and deal with it. No, over to you, Ray. Sorry. No, one second.
Yeah. So what the point is, Max, is if we take a murderer that's convicted of committing a murder, and we put the case forward, and the evidence is strong enough to convict the person that he definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the evidence is way too strong to convince him that this person clearly did murder this individual. They don't say, well, let's see you now go out and murder some more people, get more cases where you can maybe murder somebody in front of us to prove that you can murder someone. They don't need further evidence. If the evidence on its own is strong enough, it's not a case or an argument to say, let's have more evidence and maybe do it in front of us as a way of trying to prove the case itself. The case can be handled on its merits alone. So if the case is strong enough, you don't need further evidence beyond it.
Yeah. Arul,
in other words, stick to the case at hand, scrutinize the case at hand.
Listen, Arul. You asked me, I'm sticking to the case and I'm going to answer your question right now. Okay. You asked me what other explanation could be there. Okay. If I am an investigative officer of this case and someone told me the tomb was empty 3 days after, and there are few people who gave testimony, then it should be the case that he resurrected. No, because resurrection is a anomaly, is a miracle. Okay, it doesn't happen every few months. I have never seen any dead animal or a human being resurrect, so it's a wild claim to accept. So if someone said that the tomb is empty, my first thought would be that someone should have taken out, because resurrection never happens. If resurrection usually happens every few months with a few people, if I would have seen that, then it would be easier for me to believe. So if you say there's no other explanation, there is an explanation. Someone took out the body and maybe burnt it, and now they're lying that it has been resurrected. My brain wouldn't allow an anomaly for this specific case. My brain wouldn't allow any miracle for this specific case. And about the testimony, if people are saying they've seen Jesus, I wouldn't believe it, because people say they have seen UFOs and people say they have seen monkey man, and people lie. It's human nature to lie. So that's
can
my
we
answer.
close the conversation right now? People lie, human beings lie. So you are lying. We can close the case right now. Yeah.
If you want.
No. Is that the conversation you want to have? People lie, human beings lie, and therefore Max is lying. Let's close the conversation right now. Okay, that's a side point. That's a side point. It's not even a serious point. It's just to explain to you that you're making a silly comment there. But let's come back. Let's come back to this, Max. What do you call anomaly? What do you call anomaly in scientific terms, actually it's not supposed to be said as anomaly, but it's rather supposed to have been singularity, something that occurred only once. There are
Yeah, okay, that
plenty
makes
of
sense.
singularities that human beings believe in. Plenty of singularities. For instance, without even knowing. For instance, when were you born?
What was what?
When were you born?
1990.
Should anyone believe in that?
Yes,
Why?
because people were giving birth to people in
Forget about
1990s.
people. I'm asking about you. You. Were you born
Yeah,
multiple
I'm a
times?
human being. I'm a human being. So
But were you born multiple times? So we can
no,
be sure that
I
Max,
was born
Max,
only once.
good. And so even though you were born only once and you could never repeat that feat, you'd still want
Yeah,
people to believe that you were born on a particular day. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Human beings being born, a particular individual being born in itself is a singularity.
Yeah, but
There are plenty.
resurrection is not a singularity that ever happened before. But being born,
No, we will come
every
to this.
human
We will
being
come.
was born once. But we know that you can only like get born once and die
Unrelated,
once.
Max, you're answering a question which wasn't asked. Max, stick to the point at hand. There are plenty of singularities.
Uh-huh.
Every individual being born is a singularity in itself, whether you like it or
Yeah.
not, whether you haven't thought about this or not. The
No,
the
I get it.
every Yeah, if you get it, you shouldn't even quibble about that. Every human being born is a singularity because it never repeats. Max
No,
was
but I'm
born
not
once.
talking about
One
singularity.
second, let
I'm
me finish.
talking about
One second,
anomaly.
one second, please. One second, please. Max was born only once. It never happened again. Never happened before that. Yet you'd like us to believe that you were born. Why?
Yeah,
Based
okay.
on the evidence that is presented. So what
Yeah.
matters is not whether it happened only once or twice or thrice, or the probability does not matter. What
Nah, it
matters
does matter.
is,
It does matter. If I say right now I was flying yesterday, you would want a proof. That's a miracle. That's an anomaly. Humans don't fly. If I say I was flying yesterday over the Mount Everest and no one could stop me, you would say I'm lying. I'll say no, no, no. It's a singularity. You were born once, so
Max,
singularity happens and
I'm
this
not,
happened. This is not a
I'm
valid argument.
Max,
I'm
I
talking
don't know if
about.
Max. One
I'm
second, Max. I'm really not sure whether you know how Christians think. Please don't speak for us. Speak for yourself, Richard Dawkins and others. That'll do you well. Don't speak for Christians. If you ever said you flew from Mount Everest, we won't be silly enough to say no, that couldn't have happened. We'll be very intelligent to say what is the evidence.
okay. So what is
We're
the
not Richard Dawkins.
evidence?
We don't take the silly route out. We don't. Lazy route, silly route out. We don't.
So
We go
let
to
me
the
let me let me
details
be
and
clear.
no, please. We ask for evidence, and that is what you
Okay,
need to do right now. And it's
right.
very it's you did mathematics. Sorry, you did marketing. Marketing might have involved some level of mathematics. There are
Uh-huh.
many incidents, many events which have very low probability, a priori probability, very low. For example, if there are 1 million people waiting outside, the probability that when a door opened, Mr. Adam, one particular gentleman, got in is 1 in 1 million. Yeah, just because the probability is so low, let's say the entire population is waiting outside the room. When the door opened, the first guy, only one guy got in. Whoever that guy was, just because only one guy got in, it doesn't mean he did not get in. To suggest
Arul,
that
you
only one guy got in
have
and
to
therefore he
listen.
couldn't have gotten in would be
Arul,
silly. Please don't do that.
Arul,
Please don't do that.
Arul, listen,
The
listen,
probability
listen.
might be Max, please. The probability might be low, but if the evidence presented in the case warrants that is what happened, it'll be utter foolishness to reject that. So
You
the
have to
question I'm
give now.
asking you is very simply present one coherent alternative that brings together the
I
details
presented.
of the case.
I presented it to you. The
What did you
alternate
present?
explanation is Someone
Yeah.
took out the body and burnt it, and other people who saw him are lying. It's not because of singularity, it's because of an anomaly. I haven't seen anyone resurrect. It's hard for me, nearly impossible for me to
Why
believe
would the
that this can
Roman
happen.
soldiers lie? Why would the Roman soldiers lie?
I
They're
don't
going to
know.
die for it.
I have to investigate that. I have to investigate that.
No. You
But
said you're going to
I
present
won't.
a case. No, Max. Okay. Maybe there is a lack of clarity here. But the question is very simple. Do you have an alternative suggestion as to what really happened, which
Yeah.
brings together all the details of the case? Do you have or
Yes.
don't you have?
Yes. They took out the
And what
body
would that
and
be?
burnt that. They took out the body and burnt to make sure he can never. He's actually dead. Like, just to maybe they are angry at him. They still want to punish him. Not crucifixion wasn't enough. They still want to burn him. That can be one explanation. That can be
Why would
one
the Roman
explanation.
soldier do this to only to die because of this?
Who died?
A Roman soldier in the first century, for the offense of not guarding what he was supposed to guard, would die. Why would a Roman soldier in this case lie?
I wouldn't know that.
Well, this is the problem. People like you have come around in droves, not even knowing the details of the case, just following Richard Dawkins or whoever else, not asking details of the case.
And then putting forward a much weaker argument. I mean, if you're going to use good argument and you appreciate logic and argument, why not use the best argument? Why would you want to follow a much weaker argument when we're putting a case that is far more superior in its case when you follow every step of the way?
There is only
I
one
don't believe in
explanation.
anomalies. I don't believe in anomalies. That's the reason I don't want to believe your better
Good.
explanation.
You know what that is
because-
called? Max, you know what this is called? What you're doing right now? You know what this is called?
Yeah.
Circular reasoning, and based on a priori rejection, you end up concluding that God doesn't exist. God didn't exist to begin with, and therefore this could not happen, and therefore God did not exist as you concluded.
I didn't
This
say
is-
I didn't say
Actually-
I didn't say God didn't exist.
So
from
if
the
God did
beginning.
exist, could one such resurrection happen? If God did exist?
If it could, but I don't believe there is a God. So
Yeah, exactly.
now
Exactly
it's
the
a
point.
circular. Now it's a circular.
It was always circular.
reasoning.
It's just made evident right now.
No,
If
but
there
you
is
are
a
saying-
God,
The actual argument he's saying here is the only way he could believe God is if God can be proved himself without using any supernatural method. It's got to be just the same method as we know in day-to-day life. So if God could be purely like a human being and just prove himself in a basic form, he'd believe it. But because it will have to be something supernatural, it's over and above his pay grade, if you like, to comprehend anything over and above natural occurrences. He's dismissing it completely. So in other words, supernatural is not even an option, and therefore he cannot connect to a God because God itself
that's
must
correct.
be supernatural.
Supernatural and anomalies and miracles, I don't believe in that. So because I haven't seen them. And Arun,
then there is no point in having this conversation, Max. If you're going to a priori reject, what's the point in having a conversation? What is the point?
I mean, why can't Jesus show himself up? Why
No,
is he hiding?
excuse me, Max. Don't go anywhere as if you're looking for a case. If you want to reject the existence of God a priori, if that is your position, what is the point in having a conversation?
Yeah, if I can see a miracle in my life, then I'll start.
Why should
believing in
wow. Look, you can't decide and dictate. This is like the CBI officer who shows up before a forensic case and says, hey, I don't like this case. Please change the parameters of this case. This will be a silly police investigator. We're not asking you to
I'm not asking to change the parameter. I'm saying if I see a miracle in front of my eyes, then I might believe, but not before.
Yeah, that's like the police officer who shows up in front of a crime scene and says, if I see the murder happen in front of my eyes, I'll believe. Otherwise, I'm going to say no murder happened.
But
let's all go home.
murders have like murders happen. It's not an anomaly. People can kill each other. People
What's your problem with
do
anomaly? I
kill
don't
each other.
understand, Max. What's your problem with anomalies? I don't really understand. What's your problem with anomalies?
Because if you are claiming that you saw an anomaly, you have to prove it. Like, I believe
Which
in
is what we're
science.
trying to do, and you're a priori rejecting it.
No, I'm saying you explained, you're proving your anomaly with an explanation that is the best explanation. Is there any other explanation? I gave you another explanation and you are rejecting it. The thing
Well,
is,
no, whoa, Max, excuse me. Maybe you forgot. You gave another explanation. The last explanation you gave, we asked what explains the Roman soldiers' behavior, and you weren't sure. You asked, "What do you mean?" or something like that, and I had to clarify and say the Roman soldier, for not guarding what he was supposed to guard in the first century Roman apparatus, would be killed. You weren't aware of that detail, and you backed off. That's what happened. You didn't provide
I'm
any
saying
further
I still
alternatives
don't know
instead.
why he would do that. I can't investigate the case, like, but I can't come to a conclusion either. Let's say my explanation is wrong. Let's say no one took his body out. Then there could be some other explanation. Let's
Like
figure
what?
it out instead of concluding that he does miracle. I don't want to conclude or assume that someone can do miracle without having seen a miracle in the past. My point is, if I am investing a murder case, I know humans can do murder. I have
How many
seen
murders
it
have
in
you
the
seen in your
past.
life, Max? How many murders have you
I
seen in your life?
personally, zero.
Zero. But do you think murders happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. People have seen.
I've got a brilliant point here. I need to
One
share.
second, Ray, let me finish. People have seen plenty of miracles in life. Not you, others have.
Oh, yes.
Like
Okay.
how you
Hitting my
haven't seen a
point.
murder. You haven't seen a murder, others have.
Yeah.
Likewise, you haven't seen a miracle, others have.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, but you would be, I'm assuming you'd not be silly enough to say murders don't happen because you didn't see.
No, I won't say that. Murders do happen.
Exactly. So apply the same logic. You didn't see a murder, others have, and therefore to suggest that murders don't happen would be silly. You didn't see a
Okay.
miracle, others have, and therefore to suggest that miracles can't happen would be silly. Please don't do that.
So then
Miracles
I
do
should
happen.
start believing in UFOs also, because other
No
people say
one
they
is
have seen
saying that,
UFOs.
man. No one is saying that. Why do you, Ray, back to you again. No one is saying that. Please
No,
stick
people
to
are
a
saying there
logic.
are documentaries on YouTube where people say they have been abducted by UFOs, aliens, and they have been brought back. They were abducted,
So
examined, and
present
then
one
brought
case
back.
with evidence. Present one case with evidence.
Why do you want evidence? People have seen it. They can't lie. Humans don't lie, right? They have seen an alien,
Max, one
and
second. Is that what you said?
therefore I should
Excuse me,
believe it.
Max. Excuse me, Max. Are you really serious?
I mean, I'm using your logic. You are saying
Is that
others
what we
have
said?
seen
Excuse
miracle.
me. Excuse me, Max. Is this the case I presented for Jesus? Oh, look, the
You
people said, and
presented a
therefore it must be true.
you presented an anomaly. I can't believe in
Max,
anomalies.
one second,
Yeah.
please. Max, at least please be sincere. The question I'm asking is, you
Mhm.
said UFOs have been seen, and I asked you
Yeah.
to present one case with evidence. Now you said you cannot. My point, and
Okay.
but
I
no,
can't.
you said that's what we did with Jesus. I'd really, if this is what you're going to say, I'd like to give up on you, Max, because this is
No.
not what happened. In
I
relation
don't
to
have.
Jesus, one second. In relation to Jesus, we gave you reasonable level of detail, not just say people saw and therefore believe. No, we didn't say that. Gave you reasonable level of detail. If you had asked for more detail, we would have given more. But because we were dealing with only at this level of discussion, we're giving you a case which is not just
I
people
asked
saw
you
and
more
therefore.
details. You didn't give me answer. I asked you more
Which more
details. I
details?
asked you why can't Jesus show himself up? Give me the details.
No, you are asking for alternative cases, not more details of the case that we gave. Do you not see the difference between them?
Say that again.
Asking for more details of the case is like a police officer who shows up in a crime scene and saying, okay, give me all the tools, let me gather evidence. What you did wasn't that. What you did was you showed up there and you said, I don't like this case. The case should be different. Please move everything around. That's what you did.
I didn't ask you to change parameters. I'm saying the alternate explanation of what you said is that they would have taken out the body and burned. I didn't ask you to change the parameters at all. I didn't say I didn't like the case. You said there should be what's the alternative explanation? I gave you the alternate explanation and you rejected it.
Max,
my point
the question I asked was, is there an alternative explanation that you could present?
Yes,
that brings
there is.
No, wait, please wait. Please don't be in a rush. You're a marketing student. You better understand the problem properly. Otherwise, you'll be marketing to Bill Gates a product that needs to go to someone like me. Please don't do that. Focus on the case. The question I asked was not give me an alternative explanation. The question that I asked was rather give me an alternative explanation that brings together all the evidence of the case.
I can do that.
In other words, a strong, feasible case, not something that is super, super weak.
So maybe the one who said that the tomb is empty is lying, and the people who say they saw Jesus are lying, and I don't know why.
And the Jewish leadership were foolish enough to just say, okay, fine, the tomb is empty and go away.
That makes sense. It can't like that. You're making sense now.
Good.
I don't know. Basically, I don't know. I don't know if there's any other explanation, but I refuse to believe an anomaly. This is my stance. So I don't have any explanation of why and how things happened. How can a body disappear from a tomb? I don't have that. But I refuse to believe there's an anomaly which I've never seen before.
Okay. You know what you're doing, Max?
Are you being honest?
I am.
Look, this is not a scientific question. It's an historical question. What happened to the empty tomb? Why was it empty? If the soldiers took the body away, why were the first Christians insisting Jesus is alive? The soldiers could have then said, oh, here's the dead body. Please keep quiet. Right?
Then why
where did that
Jesus
church come from?
Like, why can't Jesus,
think
Jesus
through the. No, I would like you to think through all the facts, not just one.
I'm thinking through.
Right?
I'm thinking through.
Who were the first witnesses? Who were the first witnesses to the empty tomb?
Say they saw him, right? You are asking.
Yeah, who were they? Were they men or women? Who were the first? What gender? Men or women?
For you to answer one question, why didn't Jesus show up? Why are you avoiding this
He
question?
did.
I don't understand.
He did. He did. For 40 days. For 40 days. Right after his resurrection, he met with the apostles, okay, for 40 days. That's 1 month and 10 days. These people were first of all, these people were first of all cowards. They'd run away. But when they met Jesus for 40 days, he actually presented himself alive to them. So they were convinced that they were not talking to a ghost or a UFO, but to a real person whom they knew had come back from the dead. And then the church,
after 40
and
days,
then
where did he go?
Sir, I'm trying to give you the case facts, right? Then they presented themselves to their enemies. They said, look, as you very well know, in Jerusalem, where the dead body of Christ was, but we have seen him alive today. What are you going to do about it? That's you. Now you tell me. What would you do if somebody tells you, I have seen Jesus, he's appeared to me, what are you going to do? Kill me? Fine, I don't care.
Okay.
Are you willing to die for a lie if you know it's a lie?
I wouldn't.
Well, okay. Were these early Christians who were all Jewish in Jerusalem, confronting the enemies in public and testify, we have seen Jesus. Why didn't the enemies of the early Christians simply produce the dead body of Jesus and say, keep quiet, is dead. There's a dead body.
Okay, makes sense. So you're saying that people were willing to die just to prove, just to say that they saw Jesus, right?
Not only
That-
willing, they actually did die. They were martyred, and that is on record, historical
So
record.
why is Jesus allowing them to die? Why can't he just show up and prove that, yeah, I am alive?
But wait,
Why
Max,
is he
Max, please. I can't. I really can't. Where did you do marketing? I really can't believe this. Absolutely unbelievable, Max. Please stop right now. If you want to come across as a sincere man, please stop right now asking the question in different forms. Why is the case not something else? This would be a silly police officer. Please don't do it. Deal with the case at hand. Ask for more evidence for what is presented, but don't ask for the case to be different. Don't say, why did he not show up? Why did he not wear a clothing of your choice? Why did he not shave his head? Why did he not brush his teeth before? Don't ask these irrelevant points. These are not a part of the case at hand. The case at hand is, he showed up in a particular manner. If you are an intelligent police officer, you need to come there to verify if this is true or not.
All right.
In which case, if you have an alternative, you need to have an alternative, viable explanation that brings together all the details of the case.
All right. So here's my stance about this case. My stance is, whatever you said is hard to believe because it's an anomaly. If you and 1,000 people came and told me that this happened, it would be impossible for me to believe, because I would just ask, can you show me anyone resurrecting? This is an anomaly.
Max, you would never become Sherlock Holmes. You can take my word for it. You can never become Sherlock Holmes. Neither will you become any CBI officer. If you become a CBI officer, it'll essentially be many cases which won't be solved just because the case don't fit your bill.
It's not my dream. It's not my dream to become a CBI officer, so it's no loss. But
you see the point. Essentially, you're not up to solving a case. You're only up to complaining about the case.
Okay.
Only because you haven't personally witnessed it yourself.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Which is a very weak reason. So when we look at miracles, how many cases have been put forward where people have put the claim that they've either witnessed a miracle or received a miracle themselves? How many cases have been documented for this, do you think?
I don't know. I wouldn't have an idea.
In other words, none of the competing cases that you were talking about, UFOs and whoever else, none of these is even a million times, by a million miles close to the case for Jesus Christ. I don't know why you're even bringing them in.
Because they are also saying they saw an anomaly. They are the eyewitness of an anomaly.
Yeah,
and humans
the word
tend
anomaly.
To lie.
The word anomaly is something that you should have gotten aware of, when you were maybe 5 years old. Beyond that, it doesn't carry much weight.
We can replace it with the miracle. Let's use miracle. You can use any word except singularity. I'm not talking about singularity. I'm talking about miracle. Forget the word anomaly.
Yeah. So miracles don't happen, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't believe in miracles. I don't.
Give evidence. Explain. Give evidence for the fact that miracles don't happen.
Because I have never seen a ball go upwards when I throw. It always goes downwards.
No one cares about what you've seen. Give an evidence for miracles.
You asked me.
Max, I did not ask you whether you have seen one or not. I'm asking you to give evidence for miracles never happening, whether you existed or not.
So in other words,
I don't have evidence of miracles not happening.
So you're going to ignore every claim of a miracle happening just because you personally didn't see one. So that is a very, very
by your standard, murders cannot happen because you've never seen one. Have you seen rape?
Murder is not a miracle.
Have you seen rape?
Murder is not a miracle.
Have you seen a Prime Minister of India in person?
No, but
so they can't
Prime Ministers
either.
are not a miracle. They are not a miracle.
Irrelevant.
Not a miracle.
Whatever you haven't seen can't happen.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying I don't believe in miracles.
One second. Max, how do you know something's a miracle in the first place?
Okay.
Say, for example, somebody got healed of a disease.
If it goes against science laws of science, laws of nature, it's a miracle. So if someone says...
One problem with that, there's one problem with that. Science does not have an answer for everything. They admitted that. There's still things that they discover. So before they discovered it, it may have even been written down as a miracle because at the time, science couldn't explain it.
There are certain things that science have proven. If it goes against science, then it's a miracle.
No.
Use science to prove that miracles cannot happen.
I can't prove it. I can't prove it.
So give up. So don't make that statement because you're a scientific guy.
I mean, listen, I can't disprove miracles and you can't prove miracles.
Max.
Yes, science can prove miracles, by the way. Can prove miracles. If we have a scientist, medical scientist, that examines a body and clearly identifies that this body is either dead or it has a certain incurable disease, and next week they see that person, test that person, examine it, and he's free from that illness, from that incurable disease, is that a miracle? Is that a miracle?
Yeah, but then they'll change the definition of that disease from incurable to curable. If they see
no, you can't get away with it. There are cases that medical science has agreed have not explained how certain diseases or illnesses that are incurable are no longer within a particular person. They have cases where that has been documented, where they've come back in, they're healed, the person has gone to the hospital, to the doctor and said, I've been healed, blah, 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 blah. This has been, and the doctors tested them, they're cured, and they have absolutely no explanation because at the time, science still, and to this day, doesn't have the medical science to cure that particular disease. So they absolutely have no answer, but they see the person in front of them, knowing that that person, after testing them, do not longer receive that illness. That is a miracle that does exist, that science have confirmed in that manner. That's actually documented. If you do some research, you'll start to find miracles aren't so impossible as you think.
Okay.
That's one example.
Yeah, in our lives, Brother Ray, myself, Brother Sai, and I'm sure a few others, Brother Greg and so on, we've all seen miracles. Yeah. So Max, just because you haven't seen, please don't go against, please don't speak for the rest of the world. Please don't. Please don't do the same.
I'm not speaking for the rest of the world. I'm saying I don't believe in God.
Well, okay, Max, 1 second. So I like to I'd like to go back maybe 5 minutes or 3-4 minutes right now. And so it's good that you confess that you can't prove by science that miracles cannot happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree, yeah? I'd like to take that Max right now into the case again. That Max, that intelligent Max before the case of the Lord Jesus Christ. So the tomb went empty. All the rest of the details of the case are intact. Now we have an intelligent Max who knows that science doesn't say miracles cannot happen. Let that Max now comment what is the explanation for the details of the case.
I mean, I don't know how that happened, but again, there's no resurrection because even though science
don't actually Max. I don't want this the unintelligent Max to speak. I want the intelligent Max who said science we're using science. He can't say miracles cannot happen. I.e., using science, he can't say resurrection cannot happen.
Right? You have to let me answer, right? Don't interrupt this time. This intelligent Max is gonna say that I don't know how and where that body went, but it can't be a resurrection, because even though science can't disprove miracles, no one can even prove miracles. So even though miracles can't be disproven, it can also not be proven. So until
Excuse me,
and
you're
unless
standing in front
someone
of a case.
until and unless someone proves resurrections can happen, I refuse to believe. This is what the intelligent Max would say.
Until you made one of the absurd statements that anyone could ever make, because you're standing in front of a case which is the resurrection that we are talking about, and you are saying
Just a
you
missing
don't
body.
have
You
a
can't
proof.
call a missing body resurrection. It's
One
a
second.
missing body case.
It's a missing body case, Max. Are you
It's
even
not
serious?
a resurrection case. Yeah,
Max,
it's
did you
the body is
remember all the
missing. That's it.
Max, do you remember the details of the case, or should we repeat it all over for you purely because you've got into?
I remember the guards
It's not
were
a missing
protecting
body
it.
case. It's not a missing body case.
Okay.
It's a case of Roman soldiers guarding a tomb,
Yeah.
protected by 3-level security, observed by
that.
three. What's that?
I remember that.
So for you to trivialize and say this is just a missing body case would be a bit far-fetched.
Okay, but I still, even if it is not a missing body, I refuse to believe that it is a miracle, because miracles haven't been proved. If they are not disproved, they haven't still been proved.
Okay, Max.
But
you made...
but there's a problem here. With the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, there are over 512 people that saw him back from the dead. Are you saying these 512 people are all lying?
Maybe. I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
What's the reason? What's the motive?
Why would people lie about UFOs?
No, I'm talking about the resurrection of Jesus, this specific unique case, right?
Yeah.
Why would 512 people lie and then they die for a lie? Is that rational? Is that logical?
It's absolutely not rational, not logical. I wouldn't know why any one person would die, let alone 500 people. I wouldn't understand this concept that people are dying to prove a lie. That's
no. But the point is, if I was in the same position, I would refuse to die for a lie when I know it's a lie. Okay. So think about it. So where does the church come from? What's the origin of the church?
What's the origin of what?
The church. Where does it come from? What town and why?
I don't know.
Well, you should. The church comes.
You have to tell me that, right? I don't know everything, right?
Okay, this is basic knowledge.
Imagine you laughing at me just because I don't know.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. Okay. Right. The reason why is because you haven't done your homework. The church does not come from London or Africa or Asia. It comes from Jerusalem in Israel 2,000 years ago, in a most unlikely place, because the first Christians were all Jewish, and they all said Jesus has come back from the dead and we have seen him. So from Jerusalem, the church spread out. Everywhere it went, there was persecution. But interestingly, no Roman, for example, said, oh, there's a dead body of Jesus. Please shut up and go home. Why is that? Why? Very simple. To stop the church, produce the dead body.
Okay.
All right. So where's the dead body then? Where's the dead body then?
It's missing.
How could it be missing when somebody said they saw it?
I can give weight to your argument that 500 people died just to prove a lie. That doesn't make sense. They must not be lying. They must have seen Jesus. They could have, like, I don't have any explanation for that, but
Max, we have hired you to solve the case, not just to say I don't know. We've given you £1 million. Solve the case, please.
I'll
Move
return the
beyond the
£1
I
million.
don't
I
know
don't think
and
I can
solve
solve
the
this case. I don't think I
What's
can
that?
solve this case. I'll return the
So
money.
atheists need to give up on this basis. Atheists need to give up.
I can be agnostic then, but believing in God is difficult because you're claiming that there's a miracle happened which I have never seen ever. I have never seen that
When would you
ever.
first see a miracle, Max?
But you know what, Arul? You know what?
Max, once
I
again.
will.
Max, once again. Max, once again. Before seeing the first miracle, how many miracles would you have seen?
None.
And so, okay. So before seeing the miracle of Jesus Christ, how many miracles would you have seen?
Zero.
Because I have never seen a miracle before, would you deny the miracle which just happened in front of your eyes?
No, but if it happened in
No,
front of
excuse
my
me,
eyes,
Max. Because you haven't seen a miracle before, would you deny the miracle which has just happened in front of your eyes?
okay, I'm going to answer again. I'm going to give the same answer. Please don't interrupt. If that miracle happened in front of me, I'll believe it. This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'll
What
believe
about
it.
the sign which
Even if
comes every day?
even if it is happening for the first time in front of my eyes, if I see someone die in front of me and for 3 days I was there and he resurrected and he walked in front of me, I'll believe that that happened. I'll start believing in miracles. I might even start believing in God because that is a huge anomaly.
How
If
about
I
blind
see
people?
it,
Max, how about blind people? Can blind people believe in anything?
they can believe in what they hear, and if they trust the person who they are talking to, then they can trust what other people that person has
How
seen.
about blind and deaf? Can they believe in anything?
Oh, that's difficult. No, I don't think they have much
So
of an
you would
option.
completely ignore their existence. So blind. If you're blind and deaf, you're unworthy to exist. Yeah.
I didn't say that. When did I say that?
Well, if they can't believe in anything,
But I don't see they're unworthy of existence. They can live.
why would they be worthy if they can't see and hear?
I mean, they can live their lives the way they
How?
want.
Why? How? How will they get to know who their parents are? They can't see, they can't hear. How will they get to know who their
They
parents
can
are?
touch. They can smell
Ah,
their
okay. So there
parents.
are other faculties for human existence, in human existence, not just eyes and ears.
I mean, they might not believe it, and it wouldn't even affect them.
So, in
Like,
other words, Max, there are plenty
yeah,
of faculties in a human being,
yeah,
not just the ability to see and the ability to hear. You appreciate that,
uh-huh,
yeah? And one of these
okay, yeah,
important faculties is the brain.
uh-huh,
Brain can process information where not just visual information,
uh-huh,
but intellectual information.
uh-huh.
Put together this in a sort of a decision box and come up with some decisions.
Yeah, right. That's correct.
Yes. So, which is what we are doing right now. We're not saying
Uh-huh.
now while we are doing this, don't say I can't see.
Yeah.
Please don't. As if being
Uh-huh.
able to see is the only faculty.
Okay.
So, all of us have got a brain, and the details
Yeah.
of the case for the Lord Jesus Christ is simply in front of our case, in front of our
Uh-huh.
eyes,
Yeah.
metaphorically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find a solution as to what really happened here. You haven't seen a miracle in the past, but you also know science doesn't disprove a miracle, so it can very well happen. And you're standing in front of a case where there is no other explanation apart from this one solitary explanation, which is that
Uh-huh.
this Jesus seems to have come back alive.
And what
Yeah.
that is saying, Max, and what
This
that is
miracle.
saying,
This. Yeah.
what that is saying is the case that we're putting forward for the death and resurrection of Christ is the best explanation. And therefore, we encourage you that you should follow the best explanation, especially when the best explanation is regarding something significant.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jesus is no ordinary person. His life, his history, and everything about him is incredibly significant when you follow it. So this is like the beginning of the evidence of the best explanation of Jesus. So I think that deserves further investigation in who this Jesus is and see where that leads you. Yeah.
Okay. I get it.
Please pick up a Bible, Max.
Okay.
Please pick up a Bible. Go through the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, please.
Sure.
Enough of having followed atheists in your life. You need to do this yourself. You can even take this as a lifelong exercise. You need, it's almost like you were supposed to guard an empty, you were supposed to guard a room where inside there was a horse or something. You locked up a horse. You were supposed to guard the horse. 1 hour later, you open the door, the horse isn't there. Instead of going around saying, I don't know, you need to find a solution. Something has happened. Clearly, the horse is gone. You need to find out what happened.
Okay,
Please
I
do
need
that.
to find, but if I'm unable to find, I wouldn't.
No,
start
you are
making up
able to
fake
find.
stories.
You are able to find, yet you want to not consider it.
Okay, so I'll put it in this way, in a scientific term, that scientists have proven evolution, but they still don't know where the first life form, the first single-celled organism came from, and
Which scientist has proven evolution?
they also need an explanation for it, but it doesn't mean that we'll get an explanation. They are ready
Which
to say
scientist
that
has proven evolution?
wait, let me complete. Scientists are ready to say we don't know how life came, okay, but they so why can't you say that, I can't solve this mystery, I can't solve this murder mystery, like why
Because
do
we
you
have
have
solved
to
it.
have an
Why
answer?
would I, after solving the case and knowing Jesus Christ is real
You
in
solved
my
it
own
with
life?
imaginary stuff like
Max, please
resurrection and
speak
all
only for
that.
yourself. Please speak only for yourself. What do you mean? And he said, this is an imaginary solution. What do you mean?
This
I know
resurrection,
God.
it's imaginary.
I know God.
All right, so
Do you
I
have a
rest my
problem with
case
it?
here. I don't
Well, please.
mind, like I don't
I'm not
mind.
asking you to
I don't.
mind or not mind. All that I'm saying is, please only speak for yourself.
For me, this is an imaginary case. For you, it must be a reality. Okay. Now I'm speaking for myself.
Good.
So,
Please only do
yeah.
that.
What?
Go through the details of the case again.
Yeah. Okay.
Try and
I'm
solve
gonna
the case.
rest my case here. So,
Right.
that's that.
Okay. If you don't mind, Max, I just want to finish off because of the time, in readiness for feel like a preamble for next week, and that is that what we're putting together here, very simply, is effective case as the best explanation of the origin of life. Now, you mentioned evolution. We're going to cover evolution. Now, just to let you know, scientists haven't proven evolution, by the way. That's actually not correct. It's still a theory. The reason why it's only a theory is because there's a major gap in that. And the gap is they don't have a link between one species to another to connect that piece of key information that proves the evolutionary process. It is, they see specimens, for example, of a monkey and a man, and to some degree they can look a bit similar in many ways. Certain types of apes can look a bit similar, like a chimpanzee, but it doesn't actually prove without an actual scientific link, which they haven't got. Secondly, they don't also have a link on basic principles of life. The cell structure, life forms in a single cell life form, they have no link at all to connect to a secondary third cell life form. They can connect to a multi-complex life form because they exist. They can't go from a single cell life form to a secondary third cell life form and so forth, all the way to. So there's this huge gap in the middle. I mean, huge. And even with all the very complex case of looking at the biology of this and the chemistry of this, they have no link. to explain how we got from simple cell life forms to the complex life. They simply do not have an answer. So scientists are completely dumbfounded. How is it possible? But what we do have is incredible complexity in life within every single cell structure that exists. Every single one. That is the dilemma they've got. So what they then have to do is we need to look at what is the best explanation for this incredible, complex, sophisticated universe that we have. And that's one of the arguments. This whole, what we call ontological argument, is that when we look at the structure of the universe, even at the most basic cell level, it just screams complexity, design, purpose, intelligence. So as a case, we would say you would be very unwise to not follow the logic that it infers there must be an intelligent designer behind it rather than not, because the case is far better as an explanation. That's what we're offering, is the best explanation. So we're looking at the best explanation for the origin of the universe. We're looking at the best explanation of the order and design of the universe. We're looking at the best explanation, which we haven't touched yet. We will go into that next week. The moral argument of where do these objective moral standards come from? Because it cannot come from man, because man moral compass is distorted, is subjective. It has to be something outside of humankind that would have, where this moral value of standards comes from. But we know they must exist because we are continually searching for them, knowing there is the existence of this moral value that is around us, but we just can't pin it down. But one thing we can say is it doesn't originate from man, but man does receive it and does experience it, but it's still trying to look for the source. What it tends to do is try and look within the philosophy of mankind to say somehow within mankind itself, we can get the answer. They've been doing this for thousands of years, and they just cannot get to the bottom of it. Again, this is pointing to something over and above what we know within our realms of this earth. This is again pointing to something over and above, outside of. So when you piece together the cosmological argument, the teleological argument, the moral argument, and the ontological argument, these are all providing the fine-tuning, the intelligent design, organization, not chaos, a mind must be behind it, because we have this whole moral concept of love, of care, which purpose, that again points a mind that would explain the purpose of what we see in our lives, which is outside of natural process. Because if it's purely natural process, we wouldn't have the kind of qualities that we have. It doesn't fit those qualities. And that even comes under the conceptual manner, which we'll come to as well, of these concepts that go outside of the science that we see. Things like mathematics, which is a big thing. The consciousness of mind, points to something far greater. This again all points to this, what we call all loving, all powerful, all intelligent God that we believe in. And that then is then supported by the argument of that the Christian God is that God, that intelligent agency, if you like, that must have always been here, have the power and the ability and the intelligence to create the universe, explain how everything around us, our minds, our life, everything has to come and point to that intelligence. And then we have the Christian support of that in terms of our personal experience and what we believe historically that's been recorded through history, including the life, the death, and resurrection of Jesus, but also the history of events that took place that God has recorded, including many miracles as well in that process as well. All that's historically recorded in the Bible, which has been attested time and time again by historical evidence that proves that the events that took place and so forth including prophecies, which is a miracle as well in its own. It's all those elements that when you put the case forward, that then becomes the most convincing and best argument of all. And that just leaves one small final piece of the puzzle. And do you know what that is?
What?
Your personal journey to investigate that case. If you just think everything that's going to come to you and prove it to you, then you're missing one very important opportunity. And that maybe you need to do the investigation yourself. We talk about where you can pray to God, you can read the Bible, read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Look at the evidence with the world, which has been recorded, not just from an atheist point of view, but from all scientists, and look for the amazing detail and sophistication of this earth, all these different arguments. When you start investigating them yourselves genuinely and honestly, we believe that you're going to the conclusion that there definitely must be a God. And then when you experience God in your life, that's like the final piece of the puzzle.
All right, Ray, I really appreciate your time and all the explanation in a polite way. Arul, I really appreciate you explaining me everything, the case of Christ and everything. I just want to make a point. I'm not against religious people. I'm not here to disprove anything. I just wanted to know what makes you believe in God that strongly. So nothing against you. I'm sorry if I came out rude.
No, that's fine, Max. No problem, mate. All I would say is I like you to think at least that we're convincing you that this is worth maybe following our weekly episodes to see where it leads. Because if it's interesting enough to you and you can spare a few hours once a week, it may change your life in a positive way.
Yeah, I'll do that. I've subscribed. All right,
Max,
thanks. Take care. Yeah.
Max, you were very wonderful to speak to also.
Thank you
apologies
so much.
about the cross-examination, but it was really lovely to speak to you. And hopefully, things could be, we can have future conversations. Brother Ray, of course, is going to take us through various other argumentations and so on. Holistically, essentially, the case would become even stronger. So really looking forward to more participation from you, Max. Lovely to see you today.
I'll be there. Take care, huh? Take care.
Yeah,
take care. God bless you. Bye.
God bless you. Bye. So
hello, Brother Ray.
That was an unexpected interlude, but a nice one. I think it was great that we had the opportunity to put the case of Christ. So thank you, Al, for putting that forward for us. This is definitely an incredible event because, some years ago, one of the biggest problems that Christians had is they did not know how to defend their belief in God. It was very, very weak. And it's one of the saddest things. And I think that's why the atheists had such an advantage, because they'd put all these various arguments, whether they're silly or not, they at least had arguments, where the average Christian was didn't provide a supporting argument. That needs to change, and we're certainly going to do that. We're going to provoke actual arguments that are incredibly convincing. And one of the things that Max has pointed out, which I really, really picked out of anything, was the fact of he did not know Christians had these strong arguments, because he's never followed it through. He's never investigated. He just assumed we had hollow answers, weak arguments, or whatever. But we have some incredibly, very, very strong arguments. And that's the great point of what we're going to share through these weeks, is those really strong arguments. And, it's still the tip of the iceberg, because, when like for myself, when I had my life going a certain direction and I turned to God, it was one of the most unbelievable experiences when God showed himself in me in his own way, of course, not the way that I demanded it, in the way that he decided to show himself, which convinced me wholeheartedly, and he's been continually convincing me, thereafter, is where the amazing experience really starts to take hold. So we can go only so far with these arguments, but they really do help, because it proves that the Christian argument is not just a belief. It can be supported by incredibly strong arguments. The case for the case for God is a good one, and we will be readily to share that with you guys and anybody else that joins the stream or watches it later on in their own time. Will take that journey with us, and we are pleased that you will do that, and hope you will enjoy the future episodes as we continue to grow in the case for God. So thank you everyone that's joined. Thank you for all those in the comments. Really appreciate some of the. I mean, I'm trying to follow this. It's not really easy because there's been rather a large number of comments and generally very well behaved. So I really appreciate that you made some really decent comments. Nobody's been, I could see anyway, that's been particularly out of order. It's all been very positive and respectful. So thank you for that. And for all those that have expressed their kind words. I think it all helps the stream. And it helps in make the whole experience enjoyable as we have more participation. Thank you, Brother Errol, Brother Greg, and Brother Sai. I see you not you may have left since, but thank you for your contribution. And if you want, Errol, can you just finish and lead us off in prayer?
Absolutely. Thank you, Brother Ray. Wonderful work. Second week, wonderful work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Father, we come before your throne of grace, Lord. It's a beautiful thing to understand and come to the knowledge that you are our Father, not just our God, but our Father, our Redeemer, our Savior, our Shepherd, our Good Shepherd, and that you love us so dearly and deeply. But Lord, in a manner, of course, you've also said that now that we have become Christians, you'd like even those who are not yet Christians to be the focal point of our lives. You know, the one lost sheep, the one lost coin, the lost son. And so it's an awesome privilege that we have to fulfill the desire of your heart, Lord, to reach out to the non-Christians to try and explain to them why they should be Christians and so on. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for Max today, Lord, wonderful gentleman. Despite being put on the hot seat, Lord, he maintained his composure. Thank you very much for him. Bless him, Lord. Lord, we also pray for the others who might have joined, who did comment in the past, the last week's video, and who might join in the future, who are commenting on other videos about atheism and so on. Lord, we pray for all of them. Pray for all of them who are going to watch this video, the recording. Common everyone in your hands, Lord, for you to open the eyes of people, for the scales to fall from the eyes, that they might see that you are true. There is a God. His name is Jesus. His name is Jehovah, Jesus. And for them to understand that this God loves every one of us so deeply. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for Brother Ray and for his wonderful presentation, Lord. Thank you for Brothers Greg, Sai, and also John White, our dear brother who from Speaker's Corner, who also showed up briefly. Thank you for everyone, Lord. Help us, we pray. Lord, we commit all things in your hands. Thank you for all the wonderful brothers and sisters in our live chat. Cherokee Gypsy, Simon, Unique One, FG, Truth Defenders, Tartufo, and the others, CRT Gamer, not sure, Squire Wright. Lord, thank Alan Dio. Thank you for all of these brothers and sisters who are a constant source of support and who are fellow ministers in many different ways. Thank you for all, John Mark. Thank you for this wonderful backing that we have from our dear brothers and sisters. John, Lord, commit all people in your hands. Take care of Jeshurun. Take care of everyone else, Lord. Take care of the rest of the day. We bless you. We glorify you. We honor you. Thank you. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Goodbye, everyone. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
God's blessings. Bye-bye.